Yay.
I don't want to forget this time. Let's see, did that not work?
Hi, Jackie.
Hi. Hello.
Becky, before we start, I guess I could just let everybody know our next meeting is December 13th. Just a reminder that it's early in the month because of the holiday. And I do have this down to do Zoom because we have Ryan Kilpatrick. Because I know we said that with him, that he could join via Zoom.
Yes.
But I'm hopeful. I know that we're going to be able to get back to in-person in the new year.
That'll be nice. But as soon as the snow starts flying, and it's hard for everyone to get out, especially you. So I guess we'll just have to play it by ear for a while.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, we don't want you to have to drive all the way in for that too.
There's that nice Best Western over there across the street.
That's why they
You
built
can
it.
stay at my house.
That's why it's there.
Yeah. Thank you.
You can stay here too.
Didn't you
Thank
stay
you.
with us once?
Yeah.
Well,
So
you're always welcome. It's very close.
thank you.
Very close.
You
Yeah,
got plenty of places to stay.
I
even got a
love it.
room.
I love it. Thank you.
Renee, I got a bedroom for you for sure. It's already made up anytime you want it. Are you looking for tonight?
No.
Oh no, I have my slippers on tonight.
For
That
real.
sounded like Stacy. Hi,
I'm
Stacy.
But thank you,
alone.
Stacy. Thank you. I would, that is so kind. So for sure, if need be, I will let one of you kind souls know.
Okay, good, because it sounds like you have a lot of places. I think John's house offers the best food.
Oh,
Oh.
I offer the best fun.
Okay,
can't take credit for the food, but thank you for saying.
Well,
that.
maybe not. I don't know. John's fun.
John.
We have
has,
good food too.
food. Okay, well, it's 6:01.
Wow.
Okay, so I think we're gonna get started. All right. Good evening and welcome to the Saugatuck Township Planning Commission meeting. My name is Rebecca Israels and I'm your PC chairperson tonight. We welcome our community members who are with us joining in on this Zoom call, and we would like you to please know you're visible to us when you're speaking, but there is sometimes some difficulty administering Zoom calls, and we do not intentionally intend to miss any of your comments. Please have some patience with us while we're Zooming and let us know if we're missing your voice. Please enable your microphone when speaking and begin by identifying yourself with your full name and where you're Zooming in from. This meeting will be conducted via Zoom conference in accordance with the Public Act 228 of 2020. Please see the notice of public meeting via video conference for specific information about how to participate in the meeting. First thing I would like to do is call this meeting to order and take a roll call for attendance. Eiley?
Here, Allegan County, or yeah, Saugatuck Township, Allegan County.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, please state your full name and where you are calling from this evening. DeFranco?
Here, city of Savannah, Chatham County, Georgia.
Oh, that's
Good
tough.
for you.
Ground?
Jackie Grounds, Saugatuck Township in Allegan County.
Jackie, is your last name plural?
No,
Okay. I just wanted to ask for my own benefit. Okay, Helmrich,
Here, Saugatuck Township, Allegan County, Michigan.
Webster,
Here, Denise Webster, Saugatuck Township, Allegan County.
Worth,
Here, Saugatuck Township, Allegan County.
and Israel's here, Saugatuck Township, Allegan County. Also present this evening, we have Lene Wells. Correct? And Lene, where are you? at?
Yes, I'm in Grand Rapids, Michigan, Kent County.
Okay. Is there anyone else I need to acknowledge for the role? No. Okay. Next on our agenda is the approval of the agenda, tonight's agenda. So I think we're looking at it right now. Are there any additions or deletions to the proposed agenda this evening?
Oh,
Yes, John.
yeah. No, I would like to, I read zoning administrator Wells's email this afternoon. So I would like to suggest that perhaps tonight we do not do all the committee reports under item 7A in the detail that we would have. She suggested we save those till December. I would support that.
Okay.
I would support that as well.
And with the caveat, there's one item I would like to just mention briefly that falls under rural character and conservation, but otherwise I think we can forgo the detail.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that?
I like that idea.
You like that idea? Okay. Okay.
agree.
Okay. So then is there a motion to approve the agenda with the proposed change?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, supported by Webster and seconded by, I'm sorry, who?
Daniel,
Third.
Daniel. Okay. Thank you. Roll call vote, please, on the agenda. On Zoom, we have to roll call vote everything, so. Eiley,
yes.
DeFranco,
Yes.
Ground,
Yes,
Helmrich,
Yes,
Webster,
Yes,
Worth,
Yes,
Israel's yes. Okay, moving on to approval of the minutes from October 25, 2021. 12 pages.
I have one comment, which would be a revision for approval number 8 to revise the wording from site plan to north elevation.
What page are we talking about?
can we go through the pages in order?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Well, no,
Sure.
that's okay, Jackie. Usually we just go through the pages in order and I wouldn't expect you to know that. But any additions or corrections to page 1?
I have a question.
Yes,
Maybe it's my memory failing, but on 2 and after the roll call, Israel's welcomed Commissioner Ground and Worth to the Planning Commission. Was not Worth already on the Planning Commission?
he was, but I stated that I had forgotten to welcome him at the meeting prior. So I welcomed him.
Okay, a belated welcome.
so
Yeah.
welcome.
I feel like you've been around for a while, Michael, sorry.
Thank you, John.
Okay.
But you're welcome again tonight, and so
Okay,
is Jackie Brown. But yes, I apologize for not doing it the week or the month before. So thank you for questioning that, John.
That's
Any
okay.
other things on page 1?
Nope.
Okay, page 2? Page 3? Page 4?
My comments
Okay.
is regarding item number 8 on page 4.
Okay,
It should read, architectural features on the north facade of the event center shall comply with section 4662 of the zoning ordinance and shall be depicted in a revised site plan. That should read revised north elevation.
My understanding was the site plan was going to be revised and that part of the revision was the north facade as opposed to a revision of the north facade. Like we're going to get an updated site plan.
Yes, that's correct, but it wouldn't indicate the changes to the elevation drawing itself. Or,
So I'm not quite sure what, I mean, I'm not quite sure what we're saying here. Is anyone else sure of that?
Well, you could probably say, shall be depicted on the north elevation and resubmitted with the site plan or something like that, right? I mean, it's a plan, right? Like the elevation will show the architectural, the elevation drawing will show the architectural features, but then the site plan needs to show the septic area and all those things that you discussed.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And did we say that that did not need to come back to us, but that could just go directly to Wells?
You did say that.
Yes, that's what I thought. So it doesn't need to come back to us in a revised site plan. It needs to be approved by Wells. Okay. Any other things on page 4?
So is there an edit to that? Item 8? Are you revising that at all or?
I think you're revising it to add just the phrase shall be depicted on the north elevation drawing.
Oh, okay. Instead of a revised site plan, it should be the north elevation. Okay. Does that make sense, Daniel?
Yeah.
Okay. Page 5. I just have under action steps, invite Kilpatrick to address planning committee, commission, board, and others having interest, and then I added a RE semicolon in those things. Does that make sense? Having
Only thing
interest.
Your
is-
interest?
The only thing is that Mike, Daniel, you took that from exactly what I presented you, right?
That's
And it
correct.
didn't have an RE in it, Rebecca.
Oh, okay,
It
then
did
forget
not.
it. Okay, I understand. Thank you. All right,
Hey, Chair Israels?
yes.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, should we, after Ryan Kilpatrick, add from housing next, so there's an identifier?
We can, I mean, as Denise just pointed out, we were really taking this directly
Right,
from her action steps in her committee, so,
If you just did a copy and paste, Daniel, I would just leave it. Because it is coming under my committee report, so I would just leave it.
okay.
That would be my suggestion.
Okay, well, later when we talk about Ryan, we can add that, his credentials. Does that make sense?
sure.
His identifiers, okay. Anything else on page 5? Economic development, okay, page 6. Page 7. Page 8. Page 9. Page 10, 11. Yes,
The only thing that and I may be a strong word, but under on page 10, under E with regards to the proposal of the book reading,
yeah,
I know that it says in the last sentence, commissioners declined to read the book. I'm not sure if we actually declined to read the book. That seems to be a little harsh.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
I thought it was more that we just didn't feel that it was an appropriate time to read the book.
correct. Or the
Okay.
book wasn't representative of what, the issues were possibly.
Yeah, so I just question the word decline. That seems a little harsh. So,
okay.
If anybody else wants a different word, but if everybody feels it's, leave it as is,
How about commissioners would like some time to consider a book that is more appropriate for everyone?
Right.
I think that is probably more accurate.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, because there's a lot of books out there. We all know that. So I was just trying to get it started. And I do believe that, once our committees are done, we may have some time to do a book read. We've done them in the past, but we are busy right now. So, yep, thanks, Denise. Okay, page 11 or page 12. Oh, we can't argue with page 12, can we?
Not me either.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. As usual, you did a wonderful job and we really appreciate the minutes.
Thank you.
We know it's a lot of work. We need a motion here.
So moved with corrections to approve the minutes of October 25th.
Seconded.
Moved by
Check.
Webster and supported by
Ground.
Brown. Thank you. And again, we'll do a quick roll call vote. Eiley,
Yes.
DeFranco,
Yes.
Round,
Yes.
Helmrich,
Yes.
Yes.
Webster, Worth,
Yes.
Israel's yes. Okay, moving on to this portion of our agenda is public comment. And I'd just like to say the Planning Commission requests that speakers respect the 3-minute limit for individual comments and the 5-minute limit for an individual speaking on behalf of a large group. This is not a question and answer period, but it is an opportunity to voice your thoughts to the township board. I would also like to remind you that further on the agenda, we have 2 public hearings. And if you would like to speak to those public hearings, there is a time during the public hearings to also voice your thoughts and opinions. Okay, so at this time, is there anyone who would like to say anything in public comments, please?
Becky, I do see a hand up. Jane Dickey had a hand up, but I do know you mentioned if there are items that you're speaking to on agenda items, there is a hearing in 6A for rezoning and a hearing in 6B for a special approval use. So that is the time to speak on those items. But if you're here and you want to make a comment on something else entirely, now is the time, right?
Mhm.
Kurt?
So your preference, as I'm understanding it, is for me to speak, and you, if you want to see me, you have to turn my camera on. That you would like me to, I want to speak to the top grade proposal for a 2-acre.
That's 6B. Yeah.
So it'd be better to wait till
Right
then.
now. Mhm.
Okay, I'll wait till then. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Is there anyone that has any comments for the board at this time that are not related to the 2 public hearings?
It's not the board, it's the planning commission.
That's right, the planning commission. Yes. I hear somebody talking, but is that?
Kurt, are you wanting to speak?
I'm not sure if you can hear me. I was waiting for 6B.
Okay, thank you. There's a phone number, 708-927-4016. Did you want to speak on the general public comment items? No. Okay, not
Okay.
anyone, Becky.
Okay, then at this time, I'd like to close public comments and we will move directly into new business. Let me find my stuff here a minute. Tonight, we have 2 public hearings. They will be held separately. Our planning commission zoning administrator will introduce the projects to us, and the project representative will further explain the requests before you. After that presentation, the chair will open the public hearing. At that time, the public is welcome to address the board. I'd like to remind you that it's not a question and answer session, and comments again are limited to 3 minutes. If you have something to add after everyone has spoken, and that is truly after everyone has spoken, you are welcome to briefly address the commission once again. So the first public hearing is 6A. Let me just quick find my, and I'll read this. Sorry. Is a rezoning request from Midwest V or 5, Roman numeral 5, LLC, parcel number 20-032-046-00. Rezoning a portion from A2 to C1 and rezoning a portion of C1 to A2. The parcel is now vacant and located near 68th and 124th Street. I would like to remind you that this request for this public hearing is a rezoning request. That is not a request for putting a specific business in place. There has not been an application that has come before us for any specific business at this time. Okay, so Lene, would you like to introduce the project to us this evening?
Yeah, sure. Let me pull up the memo I have. Okay. I'm also going to, I think I want to start with this image right here. Kind of before I get into my memo, I just thought it would be good to orient us a little bit. So on your screen, and I shared this as well, but the parcel that we're working with, it's a 19-acre parcel. It's this irregular shaped parcel. The heavy property line depicts the full parcel area. It has frontage on 68th Blue Star as well as 124th. There is existing land also bordering 68th or Blue Star. Some of it is zone C1, some of it's zone A2. On 124th, all of the property, as far back as where my cursor is, like where this notch is, all of this corner where Lions is zone C1. And then there's C1 adjacent and part of this property that's C1. And then there's other C1 west of it. It's a square that is not part of the 19 acres. That's also C1, this square. This square right here is owned by the same owner as the 19 acre. This little square is 1 acre.
No, I was just, this is this.
Okay, can you please mute yourselves? Thank you. So I just thought it was important to orient you to all of this. And in the 19 acres that the applicant owns, a portion of that 19 acres here in the pink is zoned, right now, it's zoned commercial. The rest of this is zoned, I'm sorry.
That's right.
Yeah. This is zoned commercial, this pink. The rest of it is zoned A2. The applicant is asking to move this pink area over to this blue area. So there's no increase in commercial. It's relocating it within the 19 acres. So again, this is what's existing. I'm sorry, I probably should have used this one. I just couldn't see the underlay there, but all this blue right now is currently C1. And we're only dealing with what's in here. They want to move this blue over here north of this 1 acre piece. So they're moving what's pink here to here. Is that clear? I know it's not,
It's good. Yep.
yeah,
This
okay.
drawing is, that you're showing us is much clearer than the one that I had in my packet. I had a
Yeah.
really hard time understanding what was going on with it.
Yeah, I asked the applicant to resubmit this drawing and I still had problems with it just now. But I do think it's much more clear. So essentially, today they have commercial here in the pink. It's 1.554 acres and it's, it's a north-south configuration. They want to move it to an east-west configuration on the same parcel. And when they move it, they don't need all of it. So it's only 1.078 acres. So there's an overall loss of commercial when they move it because they don't need all of it. All right. So that is that. And I will get back to the report. And move this over.
Lene, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the parcel that's in between where Lyons is now and the applicant's parcel, what becomes of that zoning wise?
So the dark line is all the applicants. So this is all commercial
Presently,
presently. Everything blue is presently commercial.
okay. And on the proposed side?
Proposed, they're essentially moving the commercial back so it basically follows this line. If you were to draw a line there, everything under here, like where my cursor is.
Okay, good. And all the way down to M89?
Well, M89 is already commercial down here.
But on the proposed side,
This is already zoned commercial.
okay, because it's just white blank. But is that is that part of what the applicant owns or not?
Yes, the applicant owns that. They own commercial all the way down here. And that is already part of this 19 acres. Yeah. So you have commercial, everything in this blue is already commercial, this whole area.
Okay,
They would just be moving it out of this blue over here to this area.
And the dark line on the left of along, well, either of the drawings, that's 196 right away, or
Yeah, this is the ramp. Yep. This is right next to the ramp. I don't know how to clear this exhibit. Not sure how to get rid of this box. I'm sorry. I can only do so much technology at one time. Okay, let me get back to the report. So, I kind of want to look at you guys. Okay, so the property is split zoned A2 and rural open space and also C1, right? So we just talked about that. So they're looking to square off the commercial portion along M89 in exchange for replacing the C1 zone lands that are behind 68th. So again, how they're moving, their proposal is to move the north-south oriented commercial, make it an east-west, and join it with that 1 acre commercial at the bottom. Already has frontage on M89. So a few things, I gave you some quotes from the master plan, page 10.6, that, I'm sorry, let me share this again. So the master plan, the present commercial zoning of Blue Star south of the city of the Village of Douglas interchange should not be expanded. but small areas representing existing commercial establishments at the freeway and M89 interchanges should continue to be recognized. So this is the master plan, land use plan that I'm showing on the screen, where there is commercial. You know, there are no dimensions. The line weights are the line weights. So you have commercial in red, and then you have this green, which is called highway overlay. The master plan also states general business uses like drugstores, banks, and hardware stores should be encouraged in the general business area in Saugatuck and the village of Douglas, and not in interchange areas. So those are just some relevant quotes. The future land use plan, as I just mentioned, it shows commercial and highway overlay. So then I get into some standards for considering the zoning. So the proposed zoning district is more appropriate than any other district. So the parcel, the 19 acres, it's split zoned. And per the master plan, commercial is along the node of Blue Star and M89. The proposed rezoning would result in a net loss of commercial land area and reconfigure the commercial to front M89. The property cannot be used as zoned, reasonably used as zoned. It's 19 acres, it's zoned commercial and ag. The applicant has not submitted any site plan to date that has been denied. The township's PUD ordinance allows for mixed use, and the acreage of the parcel would qualify for a PUD. Again, we don't have a submittal for that. We haven't denied anything. It could be used as it's zoned today. The 0.92 acre one to the south, also owned by this applicant, but not part of the application. It's in common ownership. It's important to note that that 1 acre piece of C1 is smaller than the minimum acreage. Developing the 0.92 acre site for C1 would require a variance. It's smaller. It also doesn't have the frontage that's required. But we don't have any variance requests. Nothing's been denied. So, you know, as far as we know, it could be used until, you know, an application is made for a variance. But by relocating the commercial on this 19 acres, if the commercial were to relocate and join that C1, the lot area would now meet our minimum. They still don't have enough frontage. That would have to be handled through the Zoning Board of Appeals, but the area itself would conform. So some things to think about with that item B. Item C, the proposed zone change is supported by and consistent with the goals of the master plan. If conditions have changed since the plan was adopted as determined by the Planning Commission, the consistency with recent development trends in the area shall be considered. So this is when you look at the master plan and you think, well, does our master plan speak to this? Is this supported by the master plan? So, you know, I read to you some of those quotes. One of them says that commercial establishments and commercial near the interchange should be recognized. It also states that general businesses should not be located in the interchange area. The master plan land use shows part of this land as highway overlay, and highway overlay calls for tree preservation. You know, tree preservation is wonderful. We don't have any laws that say you can't cut down trees on M89. We do have tree preservation on Blue Star, not on M89. So, you know, whether or not tree preservation could work here. You might also wonder, was this green, did it mean like the MDOT right away along, you know, the interchange, the actual exit ramp versus private property? So something to think about. At the northeast corner of the subject site, the master plan calls for residential land use. So, you know, this is all yellow, that 19 acres is all yellow. So in fact, some of what is commercial today in our master plan is shown as residential. So if you were to recommend that the commercial that is right behind Blue Star, 68th, move down along M89, that's more consistent with the land use plan, because the land use plan shows it as yellow, not as red. D, the proposed zone change is compatible with the established land use pattern, the surrounding zoning in terms of land suitability, impacts on the environment, density, nature of use, traffic, aesthetics, infrastructure, property values. The surrounding land uses are commercial. We have Lions to the east. We have a gas station at the corner that's in like Fenville, Ganges, but there's a gas station. There's light industrial, there's a restaurant. It is a commercial node. It's a Four Corners area. Any development would result in the loss of trees, but there are also buffers that would be in place. There's setbacks, trees can be preserved in those areas. So, you know, it's not like this request is happening where there's no other commercial nearby. In fact, there's commercial on pretty much all sides except for the interchange and to the north. E, the potential uses allowed in the proposed zoning district are compatible with the site's physical, geologic, hydrologic, and environmental features. The use would be commercial retail. That's what the applicant agent mentioned. We've been informed, and some of the letters that we've received say that there might be some soil contamination. Any site plan, any development that comes in, we will see a site plan. At that time, that's when we talk about the environmental remediation. That's when we talk about parking. That's when we talk about tree preservation. That's not that's not part of a zoning, the zoning review right now. There's no site plan. We don't know where any development might happen. We're only asking if they can move the commercial that's here over here. So, you know, I'm sure that when and if there's a site plan and we're aware of contamination, we would ask for the environmental reports and we would have those reviewed by the engineer. F, the change would not severely impact traffic, public facilities, utilities, natural characteristics of the area, or significantly change population density, would not compromise the health, safety, and welfare. If approved, the rezoning would not increase the overall land area devoted to commercial in this node. The request would not severely impact public facilities or utilities more than they already are. I mean, again, it's already zoned for commercial, it's relocating it. The road commission, they would consider driveway placement and they would look at how access is handled in proximity to the interchange. The utilities, I believe this is all well and septic. G, the rezoning would constitute and create an isolated and unplanned district contrary to the master plan, which may grant a special privilege to one landowner not available to others. The rezoning would not create an isolated or unplanned district, as commercial designation is included to the south of the subject site. I mean, it would join up with existing commercial. The 19-acre site is already partially zoned commercial. They're looking to move the commercial from one place to another, and there would be a net loss of commercial. H, the change of present district boundaries is consistent in relation to existing uses, and construction on the site will be able to meet the dimensional regulations for the proposed zoning district. If approved, any development would require site plan review and approval. That's when we would review the dimensional standards. I do think, though, we should note that the current 0.92 acre parcel, that square that is not part of the 19, that is a non-conforming parcel. So this would combine with it to make a conforming parcel, but we still have the frontage issues where you need, I believe, 250 feet of frontage, and there is only 200 feet. So that type of dimensional challenge would require review and approval by the Zoning Board of Appeals potentially. Right now, though, if this commercial piece moves on its own on this 19-acre property, let me reshare this. There, and again, I'm sorry about this X. There's no issue with the frontage, right? We're not increasing a nonconformity because the frontage that they have is here, right? We're not impacting that. They already have it. It is potentially not wide enough, but that's really not debatable right now because it's an existing condition. We're not making it worse. We're not making it more non-conforming if you were to move the commercial to a different alignment on the parcel. And I mean, eventually, again, if this is the same owner, this square and this 19-acre, it would all be joined. I haven't done the calculation. I don't know what the frontage is from this corner to this corner, but it might be 250. It might be enough. But again, that's not part of this analysis per se, this frontage issue. But I did want to address it because it has come up in correspondence. Let's see. There was a mistake in the original zoning classification. There was not a mistake that we're aware of. And J, adequate sites are neither properly zoned nor available elsewhere to accommodate the proposed uses. Well, you know, there are adequate sites. We have a lot of areas already zoned for C1, C2, and C3. So, you know, we couldn't say that there isn't enough commercial in the township. So, no, I know that this is, some of these can go either way. So I know that's kind of difficult, that there's some subjectivity here, and I wish it was really cut and dry, but these are those types of requests that, you know, that's why we have a planning commission of 7 people to kind of reason through these. And that's why we have public hearings to hear perspectives of those that might be impacted, as well as the applicant. So I'm happy to answer any questions before you hear from others.
At this time, should we hear from the project representative if we have one present?
Yeah, I do not see the exact name of the person who made the submittal. You can for sure raise your hand. Oh, Andrew Rosell. Hey, Andrew. Oh, there's Andrew. Okay, I've never met Andrew, but Jean, are you also with the public or with the applicant?
No, I'm with the public, but
Okay. I'm going to mute you and I'm going to turn off the videos for those who are not on the planning commission and those who are not the applicant. Okay. There you go. Becky,
Great.
I'll turn it over to you. And
Do we
Andrew.
have an applicant here or no?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Rosell with AR Engineering. And
Andrew, could you please tell us where you're video conferencing from?
yes, I'm in Kalamazoo, Michigan. That's Kalamazoo County. And Jason Raleigh, who Lene has been working with from our office, he's actually traveling tonight, and he's on the 269 number that's dialed in. We also have Scott Knowlton of Midwest V LLC, who's the prospective buyer for this tract of land, specifically the acreage that we're asking to be rezoned. I believe that Lene and the staff report walks through this in great detail, and it's very nicely done. I think this map better explains what we're trying to swap out to square off that frontage on 89. So I'm not going to get into a lot of those details, but with the commercial along the 89 corridor, I know both Blue Star and 89 are kind of highways, but the predominant is 89, and with the adjacent commercial businesses and industrial, further to the south, I think it lends to the fact that we keep that commercial zoning closer to 89 or 124th. So on behalf of Wolters and Midwest Fee, we're here to answer any questions that you might have in case Lene's explanation of what we're trying to swap out was unclear.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to open the public hearing. And then there'll be a lot of opportunity after the public hearing to address any questions with Lene again. So
Becky, do you want me to just read off the names and addresses of the letters that were received?
Of the correspondence, yes. There's been multiple emails and correspondence related to this request, and we would like it noted and everyone to know that it's been entered for public record. But yes, would you mind reading those off? That would be great.
Yeah, I'm not going to read the letters. They're in our correspondence file, but we received several today and one over the weekend. So Margaret Harrison at 6820 Dale Court. And all of these letters are against the request. Okay. So Margaret Harrison, 6820 Dale Court, Tara Warner, 2671 Lakeshore. We received a letter from the Sylvan Shores and Meadows Association, Homeowners Association. They are also not supportive of this request. Janet Schroeder, also not supportive. Sherry Idris of 2534 Lakeshore Drive. Catherine Stivey, 2538 Lakeshore Drive. Rosner, I'm sorry, I don't have the first name there. Also not supportive. Nancy Rosner, also not supportive of this request. So those are the letters that came in just over the weekend.
Why aren't they supportive? Do they have a reason?
Oh, yes, there are various reasons. Yeah, I can, let me read Nancy Rosner. They're clearly, they all reference a dollar store.
Okay, but that's not under consideration here.
That's right. So they
Not relevant.
at a large retail store with loading docks, parking lot, increased traffic and lighting would not be characteristic of the neighborhood.
That's speculation.
I also got a note from the Catherine Stiver. We're not in favor of allowing a Dollar General in that location. Adding another Dollar General is counterintuitive to our goal as a tourist destination. There are 3 Dollar Generals within 15 miles.
Why is this relevant to this consideration?
I can't answer that, but all of these
We shouldn't be reading
letters.
it then.
Michael, could you just hold your comments until?
Sure.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm just letting you know that the reasons are that somebody mentioned the size and dimension of the store, the parking lot, traffic congestion, the brownfield, environmental concerns. That was Jan Schroeder. The HOA says that a Dollar General, there are 3 already within 15 miles. And the letters, several in your packet, also talk to a specific end user. And there is no site plan that's been submitted. There is no request for any specific end user.
Right.
Rezoning to C1 would allow any of the uses in C1. Right now, they can do any of the uses in C1 on that part of the parcel. So that's what we have in the letters. So I just wanted you to all know that there are 7 of them that came in after the ones that we sent previously. Okay, and I'm happy to keep time for the 3 minutes, Becky, and I'm happy to help call on people, whatever you'd like. So I'm just going to mute myself now, but you
Okay,
let me know.
perfect. So just to remind you, this is a public hearing and the public hearing is open. So at this time, we'd like to hear from the public. And again, we'll remind all of you that this is not about a particular business. This is about a rezoning request.
Right.
Okay, so who would like to start? Unfortunately, I don't see people, so Lene, you're gonna have to help me with this one.
Okay.
Is there anyone that would like-
I will go through just in order here. Lynn Kirk.
Lynn, would you like to speak this evening?
Yes, I just unmuted. Thank you.
I'll set the timer.
Okay, and mine's gonna probably even be shorter than that. I just have concerns about the 250-foot requirement.
Would you please state your name?
Can
and
we
where you're calling
request,
from?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
Can we
sorry.
request that
Lynn?
the speakers state their address, street address?
No
and
problem.
And not just their post office address, but what township they live in?
That's fine.
Thank
Lynn
you.
Kirkcaldy, 2402 Lakeshore, Saugatuck Township. My 2 comments are, the rezone would give them 99,000 square feet from my understanding without setbacks. I am opposed to a rezone because of the frontage. That corner is really tight. I know that ACRC will be the designated one for the ingress egress, summertime traffic, etc. You're talking a commercial type business that just isn't strong enough for me. And that's about it.
Thank
Since
you.
I can't
Lynn.
talk about anything else.
Next. Lene? Lene, I think you're off.
Jean Adam Check. No, okay. Dale Harrison. Hi, Dale. Would you like to speak to this item or the next item? Hi, Dale. Hello?
Hello,
You
I'm
may have
here.
to unmute yourself.
Yeah, he's good. Dale, are you here to speak to this item? Can you unmute yourself, Dale? All right, there you go, Dale.
Hmm.
Go ahead.
I think you asked me if I was here to talk about the rezoning matter.
Yes.
I am not.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Kurt Coella.
Sorry, I'm not sure if you can hear me, but I'm here to talk about the top grade proposal.
Okay, thank you. Jennifer Ellison, are you here to speak to this zoning item?
No.
Okay. Nancy Bonham.
No.
No, okay. Jared,
No, sorry, that was a mistake.
Charles Landenfeld. Sue Fenkel.
Unmute. This is Sue Fensel, 2492 Lakeshore Drive, Saugatuck Township, Benville. This is helping me get a better understanding of what the proposals were. So thank you.
Thank you. I believe Scott's iPad, that's with the applicant. Donald Ohlendorf.
I'm just here listening. I
All
have,
right.
I'm concurrent with Lynn's issue. It seems to me that if the road frontage as delineated is not big enough, then maybe this whole situation is the cart before the donkey or something like that. So, but that I'm it's good information. Thank you so much. I appreciate the work that was done.
Thank you. Steve.
No comment on this one.
Thank you. Check Engine Inc. Susie Pearson. Eric Merck. Andy Merck, and I'm really sorry if I'm mispronouncing names. Andy, would you
Yes,
like to speak on this item?
not really. I'm just here to better understand what the proposal was, and I think you did a fine job explaining it. Thank you.
Thank you. Carol's iPad. Thomas Bergen. Carol, would you like to say anything? No.
No, I'm here listening as well, but I certainly do have concerns about the frontage and the ability to turn in, turn out. And we all know that during the summertime, and especially this last year, the traffic has been abnormally awful. Hopefully it will get better with the highway being open, but there's a lot of congestion there and it's awfully close to the ramp. So I think we need to be very careful of what we do. And I'm always supportive of following the code. And if it's 250 feet and they don't have 250 feet, then I don't think that's appropriate. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
Carol, can you tell us your last name and your address?
Shirley, sorry about that. Carol Josefowitz, 2334 Lakeshore Drive.
Do you mind spelling your last name, Carol?
It's a good Dutch name, right?
I don't know.
J-O-S as in Sam, E-F as in Frank, O-W-I-C-Z.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thomas Bergen. Jennifer,
Yes, I'd like to speak.
please state your name and your address.
Hi, guys. It's Jennifer Drew. My address 2435 64th Street in Fenville, which is Saugatuck Township. I'd just like to say that, yes, I am against this being just a few miles down the road, travel that intersection multiple times on a daily basis. And in the summertime, it is crazy backed up. Trying to get in and out of Lyons or the Shell gas station right there, or even Whatnot Inn, it can be dangerous at times. And I don't think any other commercial store, or heaven forbid, a fast food restaurant or whatever their future intentions may be, I really do not agree with it. And I don't think it's a good fit for the area. And that's all I'd like to say.
Thank you. We have the phone caller. I think that's with the applicant, and then another person on the phone, area code 708-927-4016. Would you like to speak on this? All right, that's all I have, Becky.
Okey doke. While the public hearing is still open, planning commissioners, please address any questions or clarifications you may need to have to the applicant at this time, or also to Lene at this time, or any concerns that you might have that may have been raised in the hearing with the petitioners. Would anyone like to start? Anyone have any questions for Lene, commissioners?
Hey, Lene, the only thing that I found in regards to that question about general business is I look at the master plan. That comment is within the paragraph associated with the Blue Star north of the city and that interchange, and not necessarily to the south, unless I'm reading that wrong. I understand about the general businesses, but is that particular statement more related to the 39 exit versus the 31?
That's a good question. I would have to pull up that master plan. But you're right that there are sections in the master plan with sort of headers about the different vicinities.
Okay.
So I don't have it up right now. So that certainly could be related to that northern interchange area. Since this is a tri-community master plan, right? So it's
right.
Sometimes makes it a little bit challenging to know, well, are they speaking to Douglas issues or Saugatuck proper?
Right, okay.
Or Fenville.
Or Fenville.
But Fenville's not part of the tri-community.
Fenville's not part of that.
No, it's not.
Okay.
No, but we are.
Are you in this township?
I'm in the township. My mailing's address Fenville, Michigan.
Right, that's your post office. That's all.
That's where mail gets delivered to my house,
I know.
Fenville.
But you don't live in Fenville, you live in the township.
Well, then why is it
Your mailing
Fenville?
address is Fenville. I understand what you're saying, but you are in the township, Saugatuck Township. We have people in Fenville that vote in Saugatuck Township.
Because they're residents of Saugatuck Township.
Yes. They're
Lene,
township.
can you clarify for me, excuse me, I guess I've been told that historically, at one point, this property or property around it had been considered for a potential truck stop. But I believe that currently that a truck stop would not have a by right usage here.
Yeah, I was just going to pull up the master plan. Sorry, that's what I'm typing. That's correct. So the idea that a truck stop is a use in our zoning table. And our zoning table then tells you which districts that use could be located in. And it is not a use that is allowable in the C1 zoning. So there could not be a truck stop.
So it's pretty much limited. I mean, what else besides retail would?
Yeah, let me pull up my book right here. I can read off.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, no. Happy to.
While you're doing that, I'll just kind of mention to you, John, that on most of our interchanges, it's a C3 designation off the interchange, and this is C1. And C1 to me, from reading our zoning and master planning, is more tourist-oriented businesses and small businesses, and it seems to fit into your commercial Blue Star corridor in some respects, you know, what you're looking at. So I just thought I'd mention that. I could be wrong, but.
And do we know, I'm just curious, in the township, as we all know, we have two interchange districts that are, that's their zoning. It has the I in front of it, but this does not. Is that probably because the border with Ganges Township is right there? Or does anyone know that background, why this is not interchange? When it's right on our.
Oh, I don't know.
I find that interesting.
I can read the purpose statement and then I get some of the uses. So C1 General Commercial Zoning District is established to accommodate businesses desiring to take advantage of the area's seasonal traffic patterns. It provides diverse corridor locations for businesses that cater directly to tourism and peak travel associated with an increased summertime population. The range of uses allowed in this district include a variety of compatible tourist and hospitality-oriented uses, as well as many general business uses. To ensure the compatibility of uses within the district, the range of uses is, however, somewhat restricted when compared to the range allowed in the C2 local commercial district. And then all uses shall be controlled by development performance standards to ensure the attractiveness and the character of the community and adjoining properties are not diminished. So a few things: ambulance service, antique shops, resale shops, bakery goods store, bait and tackle, bank and loan and financial offices, including drive-up facilities, barber shop or beauty shop, florists, clinics, dental, medical, locksmith, dance studios, taxidermy, art and music studios, gift shops, book and video record stores, convenience stores and party stores, retail and convenience printing, travel agency, restaurants, full service, excluding drive-through, bars and taverns and lounges. And then those are just what's permitted by right. And then there's a whole list of special uses like auto and boat sales, auto repair, motels, bed and breakfasts, tanning spas, outdoor open air sales, auction houses, offices, multi-tenant retail, like a retail strip, hardware store, restaurant with drive-through, theaters, campgrounds. You know, those types of things are special uses.
Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Any other questions for the applicant or for Lene at this time?
I had a question for the applicant.
Yes.
The applicant mentioned something about having a buyer for the property. Can you elaborate on that? Like, what property are you talking about? Are you talking about the 19-acre parcel?
Do you want me to answer that directly, Madam Chairman?
Oh, yes, you can answer questions
Okay.
directly. I mean, the proposed use of the property isn't what's on the table this evening. It's the zoning. And so I'm not sure if you're comfortable with that because, I mean, that's not known to us either. All right. So I'll leave that up to you.
Yeah, so our client has an option to purchase the property contingent on the rezone reconfiguration going through.
Okay.
Thank
Becky,
you.
see Scott with the applicant group has his hand up too. Scott, did you want to elaborate on that?
Andrew did a good job answering. I just wanted to make it clear that we are applying on behalf of the owner because of basically a representation letter that allows us to do that, but we haven't yet closed on the property. Our closing is contingent on, our purchase of the property is contingent upon the rezoning occurring.
Okay. Daniel, are you satisfied with that answer?
Yes, thank you for being forthcoming.
Okay. Is there anyone else that has a question for the applicant or Lene at this time? For clarification? Okay, then at this time, I'm going to close the public hearing. And it is the time now for commissioners to discuss this project among themselves. So please, I mean, if you need re-clarification or clarification from each other, discussions, questions from the PC, and just add last minute thoughts and answers to any of your questions that were raised this evening, please begin your discussion. Does that make sense? Anyone like to start?
Lene, with this particular change in location, there won't be any issue in regards to a landlock of any of those parcel, right? The A2, because they have that access from Blue Star into that A2 parcel, they're not landlocking. Is that correct?
That's right. I can pull that back up again, but that there's that frontage on Blue Star, like you mentioned, and also at M89.
Yeah, but isn't that little piece going to be commercial then?
Yes.
So that whole frontage will be commercial. Is that correct? Did I get that right?
Yes.
So you see here, this is all ag, supposed to be ag, so that connects. And then this is commercial that has access already. And then they're proposing to add, move this blue over here. So that would have access.
So if somebody wanted to develop the A2 area,
yeah,
then they would access it from there, or they would have to get an easement from off of
Blue Star.
Blue Star, is that correct? Yeah, 124.
They would have access. They have access right now here at Blue Star at 68.
Right. But if they wanted it off of 124, then that property owner who's going to buy this piece would have to give them the ability to access that property from 124. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that would be the same thing as right now, I believe, too, because they don't have access off 124th now. They really don't. It's all zone C1 straight across there. The only access they have is off the 64th Street or whatever.
But is that, but
that
that
is
area,
access.
of course, I don't have my cursor, but Lene, if you go down to the proposed rezoning limits and that C1, who's there? Who's in that little space? No, go over one. Go over.
To the right.
Go to your right. Who's it right there? Who's in that space right now?
No one.
Nobody.
Nobody.
It's
So
wooded.
therefore, okay, I get it.
But it is their property at this still.
It is their property and it is C1. So yes, I mean, I hear what you're saying, both of you. So Denise, if they wanted to develop 19 acres and have the housing piece have access through 124th, you'd have to cross the commercial and then, put your drive back here. Or you also have it off of Blue Star.
Right. So then therefore, what my comment is about 124 is that person, whoever develops this area, the C1 where they would have to give them access because they would have to have in their site plan the ability to access below off of 124 into that piece of property. So when we do a site plan review, we would have to be very clear if that's going to be another driveway associated to that back property, or is it just going to be off of Blue Star?
Yeah.
That would be part of our site plan, right?
Yeah, that would be something to think about and probably something that we're thinking about, right? Like, I mean, this could be sufficient.
Yes.
I think for,
okay.
It's currently sufficient and there is housing that abuts to the property now that has a separate access point. So it's not any different. It wouldn't be any different than it is now. It's just reconfiguration of that property below it. There's no access from 124th now. And there wouldn't be, if we rezone this, unless that landowner decides to give someone access, but he has that problem now or later. That's.
Yes, I understand that.
Okay.
I get it. I just want to make sure that I was clear in regards to that it wasn't going to be a landlock, and I didn't see it, but I just wanted to make sure it was okay. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Is this black lined area here? Is that all single owner?
yes. So the black line is single owner. That is the Walters Realty Limited. And Walters Realty Limited also owns this half-acre square on the west side.
Okay.
I guess the only question I have then, and maybe it's not even relevant, this is Jackie Graham. Is all of this property being sold to Mark V? Is that proposed? Or are they only interested in purchasing the rezoned commercial area?
What was your question?
Is Midwest 5 proposing only to purchase the rezoned commercial area and not the entire 2 parcels that are shown?
That is correct.
Okay. Only the commercially zoned area proposed. Okay.
I look at it as, I mean, if there's actually a net loss of commercial property, the commercial, like the redesignation of ag to C1 that's being proposed is actually along 196. I mean, the way I look at it, I don't really see any, I personally don't see any concerns with the rezoning. The one question that I would have is what, and I know this doesn't matter for the rezoning, and maybe this is just for my own edification, but what are the brownfield environmental concerns? Is there, I mean, do we know anything about that, or?
I don't personally. I wasn't here during the conversation about that truck stop that was proposed in this location.
And I know that's something that
or
can be,
Andrew.
Okay. That's all I've have to say. I feel it's appropriate.
Michael?
I also believe it makes sense to consolidate the commercially zoned area to M89. Whether or not that highway overlay, the buffer area, is going to inhibit any future plans is questionable, in question, I should say. But it does make sense to consolidate the commercial area. And converting that current commercial area back to A2 is in alignment with the future land use map also.
Lene, I had a question for you. So I looked this up, and so the lot that, and this might, you know, again, this question is going to get into speculation a little bit. And I think that it's probably relevant when we're talking about road frontage, and I don't know the specific road frontage in this case, but I do know that the lot that Lions Market is presently located on is under, you know, I think it's like 0.89 acres. The gas station's the same thing. It's like 0.87 acres. Is this lot that we're talking about, I mean, is it something that, because other commercial enterprises in that area are on non-conforming lots? I mean, they don't hit the 85,000 square foot minimum for a commercial for C1. Is this something that would be reasonable? Like if somebody wanted to put a business on that 0.91 acre lot as it now stands, is that a reasonable request, even though we don't have a site plan or anything like that, but in some world, is that a reasonable request to the ZBA? Or looking at that lot, do you just see it never being possible for someone to go in there and actually use it as commercial?
I really can't speculate on that. I think that's going to be up to those applicants to make a case for themselves according to, you know, dimensional variance standards. I don't see, and I haven't spent the time researching those. according to that parcel because it's not part of the request. In terms of whether you can develop on a 1 acre property, probably, right? I mean, I think it's really just a function of the size of your building and your parking requirements and your setbacks.
The nature of your business.
Yeah, it really just depends on those things. Again, that 1 acre property is while it's the same owner and it's next to it, it's also, I mean, it's impacted by this, but it's also not part of the application. Yeah, I mean, kind of similarly, the commercial that they have right now, back to this graphic that we love, you know, doesn't have the frontage that I know that was mentioned in some of the correspondence. I mean, certainly from, if this is 200, this square, then this little dog leg on M124 is probably only like 50 or 80 feet. So if they were to just develop back here, which has no real visibility, direct visibility, they would also need a variance because of that frontage, but you know, the nature of the business, maybe they don't need the visibility.
I'd like to speak to, I agree with Dave and others. I think it's a shifting of some real estate application here. And I understand the concerns about the frontage along the entrance ramp, but that can surely be addressed with when we review whatever proposals come along on how to develop the property. But for right now, I think there's I don't see any reason not to allow this to happen. I just don't see it.
Okay. Anyone else? I guess I'll kind of weigh in on this too. I think that it seems like if we shift the property, it seems more conforming, and that we're working towards making it more conforming. So it doesn't really have to go to the ZBA, and it seems more conforming to the master plan use. It also, I mean, doesn't really make sense to have this large area of commercial back behind other commercial properties. And I do think the commercial properties along Blue Star now will appreciate having the A2 designation behind there. That property can be developed into nice living subdivision of any sort. I mean, that's something that could happen down the way. I'm not suggesting that. I just think the proposed development or proposed change makes sense. And we're not really giving up anything. We're just changing it. So that's kind of my personal opinion. I also will just add that I do really like having it C1 here versus C3. And I think that's a nice entry way to our township too. And I think 10 years down the line, when things are built up even more in our township, we will appreciate having that as a C1 and a commercial development that's more appropriate for tourism and specific use like that versus, maybe those large, big stores, big box stores, whatever. So that's my opinion. Is there anyone else that would like to weigh in? Any other thoughts?
This is kind of just a comment, and this is, I guess, maybe Lene wants to weigh in on this too, but our present tree ordinance does have protections along, and again, this is forward thinking, but our present tree ordinance does have protections along I-96. So if there were ever to be, if we were ever to receive a site plan for the commercial development of that property, we could ensure that there's a sufficient wooded buffer zone along that ramp area, right?
Yeah, I mean, if that's again, I haven't reviewed this according
Yeah.
to our site plan or any standards, just the zoning. But certainly any requirement in our zoning ordinance, we would absolutely adhere to and push. We also have review standards, we have architectural standards. It's amazing how much that we can influence the look and the feel of development. Jackie, all the great points you made with that event center, certainly we're going to have more discussions like that with any development here because it's at the interchange. There are existing commercial uses that this needs to fit into. And so, it's not part of the request right now, but absolutely the applicants or their agents are on the line. So I hope they're ready someday if they were to come in, that we have a very committed aesthetic and way we want things in the township, and we're not going to waver.
What we want. Yep. That's good. Well put, Lene. John, any comments here?
No, I like all I'm hearing. I was going to say that I thought Jackie really succinctly put what I was thinking. And I think the fact that it encourages some economic development along M89 is a plus and makes sense. And I think taking it away from being further back as it is now, which is sort of odd, I like it. I think it's in line with what we're trying to do here. Yes, we don't know what the site plan will be for, but we'll have lots of time to study that. But I think to encourage prospective business right there, it is a plus.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other final thoughts? If there is no further discussion, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Seconded by Eiley, moved by Worth and seconded by Eiley. Again, I
Commissioners,
have
do you
to-
want to refer to any of the discussion in your motion or any of the findings in the report? And this eventually is a recommendation to the township board. So sometimes it helps the board when they get to their phase of deliberation to just have a little bit of to go on,
Boy, so much has been said, I wouldn't know what to add.
Well, maybe just a few of the points that I don't want to put words in your mouths, but that I heard that it's a net decrease in commercial. I heard that it's consistent with our master plan when that commercial is relocated, because the master plan shows residential in that area. That it fits the zoning description for C1.
And Lene, I think that your statement in regards to the states that commercial establishments at the freeway and M89 interchanges should be recognized.
Yeah, should be recognized, yes. So
that's part of our master plan.
So Michael, you made that motion, is that right?
Yes.
So Michael, is it okay to add those items, that there's a decrease in commercial by making this change, that it is consistent with our master plan and conforming use to the master plan, and it fits zoning for C1? And I don't know what the last one was that you mentioned.
Along M89.
And it's conforming along M89?
Well, our master plan states that commercial establishments at the freeway and M89 interchanges should be recognized.
I don't know what that means either.
Well, basically they're saying that this is an area that should be developed, and that it's appropriate for us to develop it and look at that in regards to M89.
Okay. So add that. And other than that, it would conform to all the other aspects. Anything going in there would be considered by the planning commission separately. That would require site plan review and approval. Okay, so I guess I will call, if there's no further discussion, we will call roll. Any comments? Okay, Eiley,
Yes.
DeFranco,
Yes.
Round,
Yes.
Helmrich,
Yes.
Webster,
Yes,
Worth,
Yes.
Israel's yes. Okay, motion pass unanimously.
Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Waltz, for being on this call. Is there anyone that needs a couple-minute break here before we move on to the next item?
That would be great.
That would be.
Okay, then you're excused for 3 minutes. How's
3
that?
minutes. All right.
Does anybody know when the Highway 31 exit's going to be open?
No, I don't, you mean to Holland?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
used
great.
to assume that they would always be open by November 1, but I don't know that that's a good assumption. Obviously, it's not. Okay, let's see. I don't think John's back yet, so we'll give him a minute. Daniel, are you on the same time zone as we are?
I am.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah, no, it is good. I was worried because we were going down to the Midwest to get here, and
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if we were leaving the East Coast or not. But no, we're firmly in the East Coast right now.
You're on the coast.
I'm on because I know I was at the Atlantic today.
Yeah, you're further east than we are.
Okay, it looks like everyone's back. Lene, are you back?
I'm back.
Okay, I think we're gonna roll right along here to our next order of new business, item 6B, which again is a public hearing. Special approval use amendment, RJ Prospects and Top Grade LLC, 6135 133rd Avenue between 60th and 62nd Street to reduce the size of the approved pond, parcel number 03-20-012 20. And now, Lene, would you please introduce that project?
Yeah. Becky, I might introduce it, and before I get into the standards, I might just, if it's okay with you, maybe the applicant wants to like give a little bit of explanation too.
That's fine. Either one of you can start.
And then we can go back into my stuff. So
Okay.
let me just pull up the review memo. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I think it's hard with Zoom.
It is hard, but I do like it.
I do too, because when I'm done, I'm home.
I've got, like I said, the slippers are on.
Okay.
I will go through this report. I should probably.
So did you want to let the applicant speak first and then you would add to it?
No, I'll speak first and then I'll let them kind of fill it in and then go through the standards.
Perfect. Okay. And then we'll open the public hearing.
Yeah. I was gonna first show a couple things just for orientation before we start. And I wasn't here at the time the top grade came in, so I'm kind of, excuse me if some things are off, but I'm doing my best with this one. And I also included in your packet this drawing, which was the drawing that was originally approved. And I also included the original narrative. I highlighted it. It says old. It's the old narrative from top grade, because it was helpful to me to just understand what they proposed back in 18. And I know many of the planning commissioners some are new and weren't here in 18. So I thought it would be helpful for you to see what the promises were back then. You also have the review from the township engineer, my review, and the soil environmental report from Lakeshore Environmental. This report from Lakeshore Environmental was reviewed by Prine and Newhoff, and they no issues with it, just to let you know. Okay, so the original approval, I'm also not a geohydrologist. The original approval had it's a sand mining operation. This is the area of excavation, kind of the brown line that encircles the pond. There were gentle kind of slopes going down until you got to the blue area, which is the pond water surface. That's when the slopes become more steep as you get down to the bottom of the pond. So the water depth from where the water started to the bottom of the pond, and again, I'm not the hydrogeologist, was 11 feet. And then this whole area of the pond was 3.5 acres. Their original proposal, they were filling that pond by tapping into the water table. So that water table would, bubble up and fill and provide the water, as well as like rainwater and runoff, but mostly getting down to that water table. They also would have to, so the surface water elevation is 590 feet, and then another 11 feet under that would be like how deep that water table is. So that's what was originally approved. This is what is built today. And is that right, Ross? Is that the right one?
Yeah, do you have one that overlays it on the one you just shown?
Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
Lene, could I ask a question? Quick one?
Yeah.
So what was the intention of making this pond?
It was a sand mining operation, so, mineral extraction.
But I mean,
And then the pond would be something that was left for probably future residential development around it, like a waterfront property, for example.
okay. So the person who owned the property that the excavation was done and did not or did own the property surrounding that area.
I think they own the entire property. So the surrounding, all those property lines that you saw.
So there might have been an interest in developing some homes or something around there, right?
Yeah, or doing the extraction and then selling it to a developer.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah. Let me just see. I don't think that I have the overlay one. I'm sorry, I don't have it. So anyway, so now what is built, and I believe it's in your packet, I'm sure. It's not in your packet, but it's this pink one.
I think we have it.
So you can see that the elevations are different. There's no consistent water at the bottom. There's no real pond. And the elevation down here is about 600. I know Dana's report was pretty detailed about all this. So back to I'll just get into this. So we became aware of this and we asked the applicant, because we received a call, somebody was interested in buying it and they wanted to make sure that everything was built according to the plan. So it gave us the opportunity to compare the plans, were submitted and were approved with the existing conditions. When we went to the site, we discovered that the pond depth was not per the approved plans, that the water source to fill the ponds was not per the plans, and even Ross shared this over the phone with us. The circumference and shape of the pond is not the same as the plans. The 4 inches of topsoil that was in their narrative in 2018 and the seeding is not, per the plans. Like we went out there, we looked at the soil. It was not a quality topsoil to hold anything other than weeds. And the banks of the ponds have not been stabilized. In addition, Top Grade, they did receive a warning or a violation from Eagle because they were trying to utilize the existing drain nearby, the ash drain, to divert the water from the drain to fill this pond. And so they applied to Eagle for a pond permit, and I believe that was denied. And so they had to reestablish the ash drain and bring it back to the way that it was. So a couple of things, as I mentioned, the pond is smaller and it's also clay lined. So they took clay from the site and put it around the pond to hold the water in. And it's basically a stormwater pond. It's not a recreation pond. It's not even like an aesthetic pond. It's not a beautification pond. It's basically filling with stormwater and evaporating, and the original approval was for 3.5 acres, 11 foot deep, filled by groundwater, excavated to 590 feet. The proposed existing clay lined stormwater pond, it's 2 acres and it's at a 600 foot elevation. The depth of that water fluctuates between 2 and 3 feet. It really depends on the stormwater, and it will not have a consistent depth of water. It will just ebb and flow as nature provides. To actually excavate down would require more mining. It would require Top Grade to reopen their special use because it's expired. It was only for a few years. It's expired. They would have to reapply, continue mining down, excavating that out, bringing it off the property, many, many truckloads. and who knows how long that would last. And then they would also penetrate the water table. And that was a concern of some of the residents, even when this was originally approved. So Top Grade thought, well, this is a less intrusive, I guess, solution. Maybe the market ran out for sand. Maybe they just moved on to the next pit. Whatever the circumstances, they are wanting to leave it as is today. So another difference, number two, the size of the excavation area, that brown line, that was 9.2 acres, but the actual area today is 7.3. There's no water supply to the pond. It's not expected to fill over time unless they tap into adjacent wells or dig their own well to fill it. The pond is constructed roughly 10 feet shallower and is 1.5 acres smaller than originally proposed. And as I mentioned earlier, doesn't penetrate the water table. The slopes, this is a big thing that we found. The slopes on the sides are much steeper. They're steeper than were approved. They're so steep that they do not hold topsoil. If you go there, we went there, it's rutted out. You can see how it's eroding. So those are some of the key issues. So essentially Top Grade has made a submittal to amend their special use. Their mining isn't active. We still have a special use. It needs to be amended because it doesn't match what was approved. And our job is to go through the special use standards, think through, how can we meet the standards given the situation that we're in? What can we require as we all, moving forward? Yeah, so that's where we're at. So I can turn it over to Ross to fill in the blanks.
Yeah, no, some of those things weren't true, Lene. I guess I want to clarify a few of them first. The DEQ didn't deny us. We dropped it for a pond expansion permit.
But they did give you a violation.
Correct. They gave us a violation, but then we began the process. I hired Kurt Koala, which is on this meeting, to start going down the process of getting a lake expansion. We actually wanted to do a bigger lake than what we were permitted. That's one of the reasons that we wanted to go work through Eagle, because by clay lining it, the water level, instead of being way down there at 590, we could bring it up closer to the surface where it would look more aesthetically pleasing, similar to the neighborhood. So because we ran into so much clay, we thought that was a possibility. And the other thing was we ran into the deadline of the mining. So that was a big part of us shrinking it as well. January came and I think we got maybe a couple of week or a month extension. I had Griff out there and mentioned to him at the time that we were thinking about clay lining it. So he was aware of it at the time. So that did happen. As far as the slopes, I don't know that you have any proof that they're not to the grade that they're supposed to be. I mean, we did put them all at a 1-on-3, which we're permitted for. And, the topsoil, we topsoiled the top ring. The only reason we didn't topsoil internally was we figured it would all be underwater. We were going to apply for that permit to make it a 7-acre pond, and then we wouldn't need topsoil, nor do you want it, because it would make the water less of quality. So that's why we left it off the bottom. So at the time when we went and did the violation of the drain, that was our mistake, and we worked through Eagle and fixed it. We didn't understand the complexity of that ditch. It is called a drain, not a stream, not a river. It was a drain. So we looked at it as a agricultural drain of the property, but we're corrected. So then we fixed that, got rid of it, and but that was our intent is to use the clay line as a type of retention pond. So any extra water that would come off the property or the nearby properties would flood in there, and then that pipe was put in level so that the water could then go right back out to the ash drain and act like a retention pond. So that was the original intent. What changed everything is this. we had one of the neighbors approach us and say, look, I don't mind this project the way it is right now. We had every intent of working with Eagle, getting our expansion permit, coming to you guys with a development plan to develop the whole thing. We thought that the bigger lake would be more aesthetic, pleasing, higher end development. But then the neighbor came to us and offered to buy it as is. So we obviously had to discount it quite a bit to do that. And we haven't done that, executed that deal yet. We want to see where this all ends up before we do that. But one of the main reasons that we stopped short, that hole where we were mining could have been a lot bigger. It's quite a bit smaller than what we proposed. And one of the reasons was we ran up against that date, and we knew how contentious it was with all the neighbors, the mining. So we thought, well, we knew one of the contentious points was to go into the water table. So we thought we were going to win with both by saying, okay, we're not going into the water table anymore. This project will be smaller, so the mine will get done faster. We won't need an extension. And we were going to be able to bring that water level further to the surface, which would have been aesthetically more pleasing. So there was a lot of wins why we went down that direction, and it was communicated, but obviously not thoroughly enough back to the township. So this neighbor coming to us is kind of what changed our direction per se. He didn't reach out to you guys to talk about, was it built to plan? He was just saying, look, is it okay if it's kept the way it is? That was what he was wondering. So that's when I reached out to the township, said, hey, we have somebody that would like to just use it for recreational use. Is it okay to leave it the way it is? After our meetings we had with you, we agreed that there are some things that are not aesthetically pleasing out there. There are some washouts that we didn't plan on. We planned on them being covered by water. So there is some fixing that could be done out there, and we're willing to do some of that. And I think I mentioned that to you. But then the communication kind of stopped, and you'd said, look, this needs to go in front of a board. So we stopped, and we've been waiting for this date, and here we are today. As far as the difference between what we were proposing, a water table pond versus a clay line, if any of those commissioners would like to know about that or how that is different, that's why I've got Kurt here, and Kurt's willing to explain the difference. We did obtain a well permit. We do have one. We have not drilled a well yet, but we do have a permit to do that. That was one of the ways we were going to fill it faster, is between the drain and the well, we get it up to the level that was desired. And then we were hoping that the drain would just maintain it. We wouldn't have to use the well anymore. We've done ponds like this in the past. In fact, at my personal house, I've got one that's clay lined. It's above the water table, and they're great. They're very aesthetically pleasing. At first, they're a little dirty, but then the silts settle out, and it's this is good for recreation as what a water table pond is. And especially this one, because it was going to have depths of 20 plus feet, which would have kept the bottom nice and cold. If Kurt would like to add to this.
Yeah, I can certainly add if you can hear me, Lene, or I can do it during public comment, but Ross is absolutely correct in
Could you
that.
please state your name and where you're?
I sure can. Again, my name is Kurt Kella. I'm actually a hydrogeologist for a company called Lakeshore Environmental. I'm located in Grand Haven, Michigan, and I'm at the office right now. So that's in downtown Grand Haven.
Thank you.
Again, yeah, it was. It's a little misleading what was said. We quite frankly got jacked around by Eagle quite a bit, made it very difficult. We've had several very good plans and proposals, and it's been hard to adjust to the neighbors' Eagle. Even with regard to the drain, we talked to the road commission, the county, and people, and that wasn't going to be an issue, and then it all of a sudden became an issue. So it's been it's been a challenge, but the nice thing is we have an opportunity, and I guess I could back up a little on the slopes. The slopes are correct; they're just rutted out a little because of their clay. but also they were not planted because we were waiting to decide where we were going. What I did want to say is though that this is a suitable proposal. I too, like Ross, I have a pond at my house that's shallow. It would be lucky to be as deep as this pond, and I love the darn thing. I've built ponds my whole life. I've probably been involved in certainly more than 50 of them, ponds and lakes. And I think it's an excellent opportunity. This is a tough site. I've worked on this site since the 80s, and it's a beat up, you know, and I was quite frankly quite happy when Ross took over in 2017. I was excited to get that parcel down the line and make it, you know, clean it up and turn it into a lake or a pond, whatever would work at the time. So I believe it is a good proposal. It's a good opportunity to build something productive. I believe it is aesthetically pleasing. It has a buffer. Most people don't even know it's there. And even if it does have just a shallow pond at the bottom, it's certainly a great amenity to a homeowner. And I can say that from personal experience. There's going to be more like it in the future. I've built a lot of lakes. I've built lakes over 200 acres in size, and those large lake subdivisions are kind of slowly petering out. There's quite a few of them, and I'm not opposed to this, and I would endorse this, and I can certainly certify, which I'll do during the public hearing.
Okay, Madam Chair.
Yes.
I guess I know as planning commissioners, you reviewed the memo from the township engineer. We were provided a survey from the applicant. We did calculate the slopes based on the survey they gave us. So I don't know why there's a dispute there. They gave us the data. The data doesn't match what was approved. So I just wanted to go through our special land use standards because we do have some thoughts around this about what we're given here from top grade. So we have some special approval standards specific to mining operations. And then we have specific standards for special uses in general. So kind of going through those and then comparing what was originally approved with what we have today and really trying to reach some type of common ground here. So all uses shall be established and maintained in accordance with all applicable state statutes and regulations. If any of the requirements of the subsection are less strict than those in applicable state statutes, the state requirement shall prevail. We added some conditions, if we were to accept this, that all required state and local permits be secured, as well as any permits required to regrade, reseed, or restore the site. Essentially, you'll see that our recommendation is that we approve this amendment with several conditions that ensure that this becomes I wouldn't say an amenity, but not kind of the dangerous eyesore situation that we have today. Number two, no fixed machinery shall be erected or maintained within 50 feet of the property. No cut or excavation shall be made closer than 50 feet to any street or private road. The standards met. The mining limits are more than 50 feet. And the amended plan and amendments are also more than 50 feet. So that standard is met. Number three, where the use is determined to be a public hazard, the use shall be enclosed by a 6-foot or more fence. This is something the Planning Commission might want to discuss. I'm not sure what the ongoing safety measures are. There is a gate to the site. The gate's been locked. There is a berm that was added that was not on the original plans, but our condition in here is that that berm remain So there are some kind of barriers around the site, but I don't know what the future of the gate is. So when and if this were to be restored, and a restored condition would be gentle slopes, fully topsoil around, and vegetation that's not weeds. I don't know what's going to happen with the gate. So I think that's a question. Number 4, no building should be erected. There's no building proposed at this time. So that standard is moot. Number 5, the planning commission shall establish routes for truck movement. They might need to do more work to remove the clay or topsoil that is what they believe is on there, which is not like a high grade topsoil. It has to be scraped. So I don't know where that will go, if it will go in the pond, if it will be taken off site, but somehow new topsoil needs to be put on, and new seeding needs to be put on, and sloping needs to happen, like restored slopes, safer slopes. So I don't know if that's going to require hauling materials on or off site. If it does, our proposal is that the haul routes that were approved in 2018 be the same haul routes today. All right. Number 6, all permitted installations shall be maintained in neat, orderly condition to prevent injury to property, persons, or the community. To move forward, we would like to see a new performance bond, probably around $50,000 to ensure compliance with the site reclamation plan and your conditions of approval. Number 7, proper measures shall be taken to minimize the nuisance, flying dust or rock. So we're reiterating that we're not permitting any stockpiles, and that the site shall remain in a restored condition, and which includes any conditions you might add as a planning commission. When excavation and removal operations or either of them are completed, the excavated area shall be graded so that no gradient in disturbed earth shall be steeper than a slope of 3 to 1. A layer of arable topsoil of a quality approved by the zoning administrator shall be spread over the excavated area. The area shall be seeded with perennial grasses and maintained until the area is stabilized and approved by the planning commission. So they do have a site restoration plan. We've included conditions in this memo. The restoration plan shall be amended to include 4 inches of topsoil, because they're not showing that on their restoration plan, and that it be reseeded in a weed-free condition, and that the slopes be restored. And then number 8 is, again, the performance bond. Then we have general special land use standards. These apply to all special uses in the township. So we have to evaluate the request according to these 4 standards. Will the use be designed, constructed, operated, or maintained in a manner harmonious with the character of the surrounding area? Pending compliance with these conditions. So I think first we need to know that they're going to comply with our conditions. The proposed amended use would be less impactful to the water table because they're not drilling down, and it's resulted in less excavation. So what they're proposing today is, I guess, less out of character with the surrounding area. Number 2, will the special use change the character of the area? Well, it's already been mined, right? But it hasn't been restored according to the plans. So only if it were to be restored in a manner that is where there's vegetation, where the slopes are not as steep, would this be in keeping with the character, or more in keeping with the character of the area? Number 3, will the use be hazardous or detrimental to public safety or welfare by reason of traffic, noise, vibration, smoke, fumes, or glare? Well, right now, it is hazardous. Those slopes are steep. There's blowing debris. There's weeds. So right now, it is detrimental. And so only through proper restoration will it become more compatible. Number 4, will this use place additional demands on public services or facilities? It will not if it's restored. Again, those slopes, the fact that anybody could enter the site walking and then encounter those slopes with those divots and then try to come, if they were to get to the bottom, walking back up. I mean, that's a concern. So we have a list of 18 conditions. And let's see, the first one is that we're requiring 4 inches of topsoil and seeding, and that be done by June 15th, 2022. In terms of topsoil, we're requiring that the topsoil be MDOT defined friable loam consisting of dark, I think this should say organic, natural surface soil, shall be placed over the entire disturbed area and to a depth of 6 to 10 feet. Disturbed areas shall mean the entire 7.3 acres that's been disturbed as part of the sand mine operation. Seeding shall occur as often as necessary to result in a close stand of weed-free grass covering the entire 7.3 acres of the disturbed area to a depth of 6 to 10. They don't need to seed, you know, the first 10 feet from the bottom up. Erosion shall be repaired on the east bank of the site and topsoil and seeding placed that meets the requirements of this approval. 5, the applicant shall provide a timetable for site restoration and notify the township engineer to perform site inspection at the time of topsoil placement and seeding to verify the quality of the topsoil meeting MDOT requirements, the depth of the soil to be placed. In fact, you could even add to this number 5 that we get a receipt. You know, we can get paperwork that says that this topsoil, type of topsoil was purchased. 6, the slopes shall be labeled relative to water elevation. That's on the site plan. Slopes shall be as per the Allegan County Drain Commission standards, being no steeper than 1 to 4 unmowed and 1 to 5 mowed. The excavated area shall not exceed 2 acres and shall not be deeper than 600 feet in elevation. Future excavation, if they do any, except for what's required to restore, would require approval by the township. Converting this excavated area to some kind of man-made body of water with a sustained water level is not permitted at this time. Any conversion would require review by the township. Site restoration shall be completed by top grade no later than June 15, 2022. Once it's completed and we've inspected it and we approve it, the special use would expire and no future site work would commence unless a new special land use was granted. We would like a performance bond. We do want to have you talk about site safety in the future of the gate. No machinery shall operate within 50 feet of the setbacks. The existing haul routes from 2018 would remain in effect. The hours of operation from 2018 remain in effect. Only topsoil and seed shall be brought onto the site. And conditions of the fire district remain. Conditions of any other reviewing body remain. And that's what we have today.
Thank you, Lene. Well, at this time, I would like to open the public hearing for public comment. And who would like to go first?
I'm Jane Dickey, and I would be happy to go first.
Thank you, Jane.
You want me to start my video?
Whatever you want to do, you have 3 minutes.
Okay. I'm not allowed to start my video. It won't start, so you can't see me.
Okay, Jane, will you just state where you're from? Or
yeah, I will. I've got it all ready, Becky. My name is Jane Dickey. I live at 6108 Old Allegan Road, across from the sand mining special use permit proposal, which you are discussing. You've received a letter detailing some of the history of the top grade sand mining operation. I would like to highlight what I detailed in that letter within the 3 minutes of my allotted time, with my husband Larry completing our comments within his 3 minutes. Top Grade comes to you with a new application, which is designed to rectify the mess created when they sand mined approximately 25,000 cubic yards up to 400,000 cubic yards of sand from the site on Old Allegan Road and 133rd. I urge you to deny the request for continued digging to create what they say will be a 2-acre pond. And I ask that you instead require that they meet the obligations they agreed to at the Township Planning Commission meeting of April 25th, 2018, to restore the area to a green space with safe slopes, topsoil and grass, and for Top Grade to pay for expert consultation with Outdoor Discovery Center on the ways to rehabilitate sand mine areas. There's several reasons why you must reject this application. Top Grade has consistently filed applications for sand mining with what appears to be intentionally misleading and erroneous statements. And you'd have to go back to their first one from 2017, by the way, to see the whole history. You started with 2018. Their first application for special use approval drew maps and indicated they would be removing 125,000 cubic yards from the parcel to create a pond. They assured that their 4.9 acre pond would naturally fill from groundwater. An expert geologist and hydrologist, and I can give you his name later if you need it, said they are removing way more sand based on the pictures on the map. And it's not to create a pond, but to mine sand. Their second application amended the first and requested 400,000 cubic yards with a hole that would be deeper than the aquifer, which supplies all of the adjacent wells. They said this would create a 3.5 acre pond. And you can see the attachment that I've sent to you already about static water depths in the surrounding wells, which range from 31 feet to 55 feet. The Planning Commission approved the project with a set of conditions agreed to in writing and spoken. And I'm so pleased, Lene, to see that you and the engineer have looked at the whole thing and realized they'd never met these obligations. For example, they never put a berm or trees on the east side of the property where there were people with that had very poor health. Excavation on site was not graded in accordance with the safe standards of the slope, a ratio of 1 to 4. And this is clear from their own materials they just submitted to you. You can tell what the ratios are. And in fact, because there's no pond and there's only a 6-inch to a 2.5-foot puddle, the current slopes are much steeper, a ratio of 1 to 0.5 in many places, causing extensive and dangerous erosion. The property was not graded with the required minimum 4 inches of topsoil, as you've already said, nor was it seeded. Contrary to the requirement that no heavy soils would be brought in, many truckloads of heavy materials were brought in and no detailed testing was reported to the neighbors or the township as was required. They did not get that clay from the land from that parcel. And I now turn over to Larry for the next 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Larry Dickey. I also live at 6108 Old Allegan Road, where we've lived for 41 years. And now they come with their third application asking for approval to create a 2-acre pond. And once again, we see misinformation in the materials provided by Top Grade Aggregates and Lakeshore Environmental. They say they had obtained approval to install an equalization pipe into the ash drain. No such approval was requested until after neighbors reported the pipe had been installed. And then they sought approval that was denied by Eagle. But the pipe is still there. You can see it with a simple looking at it. It's still in place. And by my way of looking, it doesn't appear that it could drain the pond. It's angled to drain into the pond. They report a depth of 30 feet, but their own graphs show the drop of approximately 42 feet. They suggest that the static water is at least 5 feet below the clay liner, yet the static water depths from relevant local water well logs indicate static water from 33 to 42 feet deep. Clearly, their excavation could be below the static water of the surrounding area. You can see that on the map with the static water levels inserted in the material that Jane sent. Finally, and most egregiously, they report that restoration has been completed, and it has not. The excavation may be complete, but the restoration is far from complete. So in summary, we request first that you deny the application for the 2-acre pond. Second, that you require Top Grade to meet their obligation to restore the space, including to bring the slope of the hole into compliance with safety standards, which will prevent further erosion and danger, and to cover the disturbed area with topsoil and plantings. Third, that you require Top Grade to consult with experts on sand mine reclamation, such as the Outdoor Discovery Center, and follow their recommendations to create a green space. At the time of Top Grade's initial application, Ross Velma, Top Grade owner, turned repeatedly to the audience and asked us to consider what would be created: a beautiful pond that would enrich the neighborhood and the property values. What we have instead is a dangerous eyesore with a mosquito breeding puddle at the bottom. Before this project was started, Jane and I went to several of Top Grade's lakes that they created, and there's no doubt that they were well done, well manicured, and beautiful in many cases, both in the suburban and rural settings. And we need to see this happen at our site. Please require Top Grade to make this right. Thank you for your work on our behalf. We appreciate everything you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Dickey. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to this project?
I would like to, Lene. I'm not sure if it was Lene or Rebecca.
Well, why don't we go through the public, Kurt, since you
Yeah.
already
Okay.
spoken? So I'm going to call some names from folks that I see on the call. Dale Harrison. Hi, Dale. Would you like to speak on this?
Thanks for the thoroughness of your effort, Madam Chair. I'm Dale Harrison. I live at 3108 67th.
Can you speak up a little bit?
Is my
Oh, now you're muted. It's just a little quiet, Dale. Maybe get a little closer to the microphone.
about this?
No, do you know how to turn your speaker volume up a little bit on your computer?
I think I've got it. I don't know why it's not going up.
Or maybe hold it up a little closer.
You were louder before.
Yeah.
We could hear you the first time.
Well, I think my speaker volume, how is it now?
Okay, just keep projecting.
We'll listen harder.
Well, to continue, I think it's time to bring this project to a close. The water table is never going to be sufficient to have the depth that they allege will take place there. There have been a lot of complications with the site. To me, a fair and reasonable remedy would be to bring in about 3 to 5 more feet and put it in the bottom of the pit, eliminating the pond, which has been a hoax from the beginning. So completely eliminate the pond idea, bring in more fill at the bottom of the pond, and then slope the sides at least 5 to 1, at least being 4 to 1. We've got some serious problems with a pond as a safety issue. It's an attractive nuisance. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we got this attractive nuisance, potential swimming and drowning issues at the site. So that's always going to be an issue as long as there's water at the bottom of this site. I think we need to stop the mining. I'm not sure that even having a special use approval request is what should be happening here. What you need is an enforcement action on the prior application. I don't know that you need a special approval use to resolve the restoration issue. If they want to do additional mining, they should find another location and let the neighborhood mend from this long history of laws and property values, road construction, I see that they've repaved the street. I don't know who paid for that. I guess the township residents, would be my guess. So those are some of the issues to bring this to a halt. And I think you should deny the application, require them to go in and eliminate the pond. It's a hoax to begin with. Fill in 3 or 4 more feet in the bottom of the hole, slope the sides, seed it, not with just grass, but with some plants and meaningful wildlife habitat, and then let's move on. I think you should close it up. I appreciate your thoroughness. I wish you folks were here to hear the original application. Most of you are all brand new, and it's a vast improvement. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Let's see, Jennifer Ellison. Jennifer, would you like to say anything?
No, thank you.
Okay. Ed Welk. Ed, would you like to say anything? No. Okay, Steve. Steve.
Sure, I can. Yes, I can say a few things.
Thank you. Are you with the applicant or the public?
Public.
Thank you. State your name and address for the record.
Steve Hickok. I lived at 6092 133rd Avenue, Saugatuck Township. Just to give a little background also, I remember when Ross showed us this glorious picture of what the site was supposed to look like. And I would just also encourage anybody who is on the board right now. I know that, again, back in 2008, it was a lot different, but I would encourage anybody on the board who is thinking about approving this to please actually go to the site and look at it. You know, back in the day, the planning commission said that they needed to approve the special permit in order to add these conditions that we're talking about, and that Top Grade would have to comply to all these. If the permit was denied, then the planning commission said that when Top Grade would probably take the township to court, and at that time there would be no conditions for that site. The other thing, the things that pertain to the road, like the signs, the trees, those were approved, and those were Top Grade did a nice job with those. However, the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, the mining hours that we had conditions for, the road condition, all those were dealt with by neighbors. And I guess one of my main points is that the planning commission, though not very many people were on it, and I know Rebecca, she voted against it back then, but I'm more concerned with the planning commission and their ability to enforce these conditions that are set forth for Top Grade if any other proposal was accepted. Like the one before, nothing was ever really, I mean, I believe that, Lene, you might be the first person that actually has been on site to look at it. And it's been a lot of work for the neighbors to make sure that these conditions are upkept. And right now, as you can tell from what Jane has put together, they have not done many of those and those conditions. So if you could just make sure that whatever is decided, that those conditions are upheld by Top Grade. Because again, if you look at it now compared to what it looks like on the picture, it says a whole different it tells a different picture. And I also just wanted to note too that on your conditions, Lene, it said to take the original hauling route, which is 133rd Avenue. I just question also why 133rd Avenue is the only direction that the trucks would be able to take. There were times that there were jobs that were off of Old Allegan and they would have to go down 133rd to the east and then come all the way back around Old Allegan. And so I just question also if there's any type of trucking that be changed also. I know that there were some board members that were living down Old Allegan at the time, and I'm not going to say that that's the reason of why that route was decided, but whenever I asked about it, I was never given a clear answer of why only 133rd was the direction that the route would take place. So for those reasons, I believe my 3 minutes is up, but thank you all for all the work that you're doing and representing the neighborhood.
Thank you, Mr. Hickok.
Ed Welk,
Yes, I'm here.
did you have comments, Ed?
On this particular issue,
Yeah, on this public hearing item?
I spent 10 years on the planning commission, getting off this at the end of June of this year. And the hardest vote I ever had to make was on this particular project. And the only reason I supported it was that it was presented as, hey, the law says it's okay. If you want to say no, all you're going to do is get back into litigation. And planning commission and the township, et cetera, had been through enough litigation at the time that getting into more litigation was not really something that was on anyone's platter. But I certainly agree that much of what was set forth as to what the vendor was supposed to do did not happen. And part of the reason it didn't happen is that one of my issues on the planning commission was there's absolutely no enforcement. People want to come up with new projects and new programs, but they're not enforcing what is out there today as far as these are the rules, these are the regulations, but unless you're a real high visible project, you go to the planning commission or you go to the city supervisors meetings, or the townships, I should say. And okay, you got to do this. And in spite of, all of Lene's efforts, and before that, other people's efforts, they just don't have the time. They don't have the resources. And it's just so hard to try to make things happen. And when they don't, there's nobody out there saying, oh, hey, this didn't happen. And the previous speakers, I think, have basically said the same thing that I'm saying. So if we want the township to move forward in a positive way, there has to be some body out there that's going to go in and say, no, this is what you agreed to. Now we're shutting this down until you do it. And that might help. I'm not sure if it would or if it wouldn't, but without somebody within the township saying, these are the rules, these are the guidelines, this is what you said you would do, this is what we said you had to do. And until that happens, very little, if anything, is going to change. And I think that that's probably all I really have to say tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
You're welcome.
Check Engine Inc. Thomas Bergen. Hi, Thomas. Hello.
Mr. Bergen, you may have to turn your mute off.
Maybe try again. You were unmuted, but we didn't hear you. Yep, now you're unmuted. We cannot hear you though. Are you there? No, okay. I'm going to move on. If you want, you can try calling back, either on the phone or logging in again. I'm going to move on to Gene Adamczyk.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. No, I admire what Ms. Wells and what Mr. Welks said. As you've seen from yourself, this is a sightly, what, 2-3 acre hole, 40 feet deep. The hole is eroding, does not hold water, and it's detrimental to our neighborhood. You know, after what, a year plus, it only has 2 feet of water at the bottom of it. So, you know, the commission has been taken advantage of, as well as we, the neighbors. So the easy button is to hold top grade to their original agreement. Let's make this aesthetically pleasant. And, you know, that's it. You know, there's nothing else to be said. You've seen it. It's an eyesore. And, you know, we have to live next to it. You know, we've got our life savings. We're all trying to improve the neighborhood, and it's just an eyesore. And they're capable of doing much better. Thank you.
Thank you. Oaks. Oaks. No. Dale Harrison, I can't remember if you already spoke.
Yes, he did.
Okay, I'm sorry. Oaks, no. Thomas Bergen. Or check engine. Okay. We'll go back to Kurt Coella. Kurt.
Thank you.
Hi,
I appreciate.
excuse me.
Oh, shoot. I'm sorry, Kurt. Hang on. Sorry.
This is Tom Bergen. I've been having difficulty getting into the meeting or getting heard. But I have some comments on this whole thing. First of all, I really
could you
appreciate
please,
the comments.
state your address for the
Oh, I'm
record?
sorry.
That's
It's,
okay.
sure. It's 6117 Ravines Court, Saugatuck Township, Allegan County.
Thank you.
I live about a quarter of a mile from the site. I'm not nearly as impacted as you know, the folks along Old Allegan, but nevertheless, I am impacted with the noise. And I walk over by the site and agree that the slope is very steep. I don't take measurements, but I know it's very steep. It's just a scar. And I know some of the people in the area, immediate area, have really suffered over the last 2.5 years. You know, I think Jane Dickey's letter that the township or the planning commission members have received recites all the facts, and I won't try to repeat them, but I will observe that many of the conditions, as Mr. Welk, you know, were put in place because of the threat of lawsuits by the top grade people. You know, was an alternative to, you know, placing some controls on this, and they've obviously not met those conditions, or many of the conditions. I'm just going to come out and say what I think has been implied, and these are not responsible people. I have no problem with people having a profit motive, but these are not good citizens. These are not good corporate citizens in our area. They have not lived up to many of the conditions as detailed in Jane's letter to you all. And in hearing the two gentlemen from representing Top Grade, the thing that pops into my mind, it sounds like, the dog ate my homework excuses, that they didn't have enough time to complete the project and other excuses, all sorts of reasons, placing the blame beyond other people. But in any event, I don't know how, with all the conditions that are suggested as a condition to approval of this amended application, there's no way to enforce it. And as Mr. Welk says, without enforcement, why would we trust these people who were supposed to satisfy all these other conditions that they've not lived up to in the original approval? It's kind of like fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to talk.
Thank you, Mr. Bergen. We have someone else that was just beginning to talk. Was that right, Lene?
Let's see, I think that was Mr. Bergen, but I don't know if Oaks. Oh, okay. Sorry, that was Mr. Koala with the applicant. He's the hydrogeologist.
Oh, should we listen to any other public comments first?
Yeah, I just don't see any other public comments. If there are, please raise your hand. You can go to the. Yep, Ellison.
Hello, this is Eric Ellison, Eric and Jennifer Ellison. We live at 6050 133rd Avenue. And I guess we just want our voices to be heard as neighbors who live here, that we agree with our other neighbors, especially with Jean and others, that it seems like Top Grade has gotten what they wanted out of this deal and removed the sand, but they haven't fulfilled their obligation into making this an aesthetically pleasing property. The pond, in agreement with other people, is very little water in the bottom. It's very steep. It's very eroded. The edges are eroded with clay so much that they almost look like the trenches are a foot deep in each. And so if anybody out there would go to this site, they would stand at the edge of it, and they would not agree that this is aesthetically pleasing. Yes, there are a lot of ponds out there that are that way. We have one in our yard that is pleasing, but this is not one. So what we would want is we would want Top Grade to live up to their original agreement and fix this to make it aesthetically pleasing. If that's a pond, great. If it's a green space, great too, but it cannot remain the same way it is. And it sounds like that's what Top Grade is now proposing by bringing up some mystery buyer that may or may not come to fruition. So I'm very concerned that this is just a ploy in order to get them to not have to do anything and leave it the way it is. And then that Top Grade will get what they want, which is the sand that they've mined out, and then just to leave it and not put any more money into it. I'm sorry that for some reason they can't figure out how to fill a pond. We used to live in a neighborhood in Silverwidge that was built by Bosscraft, where they had a great big lake that they were able to fill in just fine. So I know engineering wise, it can be done. They need to be held accountable to figure this out and to make it right. That's all I need to say.
Thank you, Mr. Ellison.
Rebecca, can I comment on that? We did the Bosscraft development. Those ponds were created by us. So we do know how to create these ponds. We've had several in our township. As the Dickies said, they went around, they've seen these ponds that we've created. Our intention was to do the exact same thing with this project. In fact, the only reason that we're all upset about how it looks right now is it's supposed to be completely covered with water. That was our intention. Our original plan was not to have that whole area covered with water, only the bottom 3.5 acres. So we were gonna clay line it. That's where I think I need to have Kurt describe the difference between what we originally permitted and what is out there. We agree, it doesn't look good right now. And the reason we stopped is because we do have action, not a phony buyer, the neighbor that butts up next to the property that has frontage on this property wants to buy it. So he likes the way it is, so we stopped pursuing to fill that whole hole with water. He said, stop, I'm good with it the way it is. We were gonna heavily discount it to him. So that's why we are here where we are today. So where I want to get to is an agreement on how that looks, the restoration. I whether it's 2 acres, 3 acres, 5 acres, or no pond, I'm okay with that. I just think we need to take what's out there and make it, everybody come to an agreement with how it would look okay. I don't think any trucks are needed to do that. I don't think we have to import any more clay. We don't need to even import any more topsoil. It's 33 acres. There's spots on that property that are 18 inches deep of topsoil that we can shallow them up, take a little bit off the top. It's organic soil on site that we can put on that area for restoration. They just paved 133rd Road. I just don't think it's really good for everybody to see more trucks going in and out of there. I can make that thing, the slopes, what you guys are talking about, we can get that all fixed. The topsoil, do the plantings. That's all possible with everything that's on site. The only reason we stopped, we didn't do what we said we were gonna do, is we ran into the deadline for mining. And we thought it would be in the neighbor's best interest and ours, because we are getting into a lot of clay overburden, to stop on time. And that's why we did that. And when we ran into the clay, the extra clay, that's when the idea came to, hey, let's not go in the water table, let's do a clay line pond. So then I began the process of trying to come up with ways to fill it, which I kept getting resistance as well. So to say that I'm trying to just bail on this is not true. We were trying, we just kept running into hurdles that some of the neighbors were even putting on us to get this thing done and get it done right. We don't like how it looks either. We would like to get it looking better. Like I said, we have projects that look really good. We're willing to work through this. We just want a reasonable outcome so we can, it can be aesthetically pleasing.
Lene, have there been emails and correspondence related to this project?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair. They both spoke today. So Mr. Harrison at 3108 62nd and Jane Dickey.
Okay. So those have been noted and entered for public record also. Commissioners, do you have any questions or clarifications that you would like to address right now with the applicant at this time, or the owner of the property, and after hearing things at this public hearing?
Madam Chair, point of order, is the public comments now complete?
No. Once everyone, you actually can address questions to the applicant or to Lene right now for clarification, and then the public hearing will be closed, and then it's time for a commission discussion. Does that make sense?
Well, no, isn't public comments for the public? And that this is not a question and answer from me as a commissioner. It's not until the actual discussion occurs that during the public comment, I don't make any, I don't make it. As a commissioner, I don't make no comment.
You can ask for clarification on anything during this process right now, at this point. According to Robert's Rules of Order, you can ask for clarification that you need from the applicant.
I got a question for, this is Mike, I got a question for Ross. He stated just a minute ago here, his intention to make it right. Is his viewpoint, obviously with collaborating with the rest of us and the neighbors to figure out what the term right is. but is it that far off from what was originally agreed to? I think it is because of the character of the property that once they started getting into it, won't allow what originally was planned to happen. Is that correct?
The original, what was permitted was there was going to be a hole that size, if not actually bigger, a third bigger than what it is today, was originally permitted. Then there would be water on the very bottom of that size hole, actually another 8 feet or so deep. You would have seen the water surface like the area shows. So that was the original intent of that. Now what I'm saying is, the water on the bottom would be much smaller, if not any. The slopes, yes, I agree. We can go to original intent, which was, I thought it was 1 on 3, but maybe it was 1 on 4. There are slopes out there that I think meet that, especially the let's say the west slope is probably one of the nicest slopes there. I know the one to the south is steep, but the one to the west and some of the other ones are maybe a 1 on 3 is what they're at least close to that. So to get it to what you guys are requesting, to have the 4 inches of topsoil and the 1 on 4 slopes with some nice seeding, I'm fine with that. I can do that. We can go out there, we can make that all happen. I just think we're going a little overboard with the requirement to haul in topsoil and then haul in clay, and we have all that dirt on site, and it's just a matter of me investing into moving it and getting it all set up. So it's quite a job. I mean, it's probably close to a month worth of work, but it'd be a lot less impact to the community than trying to do it all with trucks. I know that.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any other clarification anyone needs at this point from Lene?
Lene, do you know if the township collected the original performance bond from the original SAU?
Yeah, we had one. I have not checked with Lori. I don't know if it's still active or not, but yeah, Top Grade was good about making sure that bond was current. I think they switched carriers at one time, so we received an updated one, so that was kept.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to close the public hearing if there is no other members of the public who wish to address this. And leave this open for commission discussion. So if you have other questions that weren't addressed of the applicant, for the applicant, please ask them now and or confer with each other.
Madam Chair?
Yes, John.
Yeah, I'd like to just make a couple comments up front first that are relevant. And I'd like to begin I'd really like to thank both Dale Harrison and Ed Welk for speaking tonight and thank them for their many years of service to the Planning Commission. And that also dovetails into something, I think we're all aware of this, but I want to underscore it because I'm finding this one, it's so challenging. It's complicated, it's deep. Lene has done an amazing job in her summary and the amount of information. Members of the public have also brought forth really important information. But as I said, I want to underline the fact that this original SAU approval to Top Grade was back in, excuse me, June of 2018. Now, we're here now in November of 2021. All 5 members of the township board, none of us were on the board back in 2018. Of the 7 members of our planning commission, I believe only 1, and that would be you, Madam Chair, were on the planning commission at that time. Our zoning administrator, Lene Wells, was not our zoning administrator. Our township manager was not our township manager. And I just think that bears repeating because we're trying to absorb all this. I think I was at some of those meetings. I remember all the talk about reclamation and restoration. And to me, that is still critical to everything we're talking about, whether it's the original SAU or a potentially new one. And when I look at the summary that Ms. Wells shared with us earlier, and I see item after item that ends in is not per approved plan, is not per approved plan, is not per approved plan. I just got to say, for me, there's a huge trust issue here. And I don't know how we address that or how Top Grade can address that, but I want them and my colleagues to know that that's something I'm grappling with. And I would imagine I'm not the only one. And I think that's important to bear in mind what we've heard. So much of the original plan has not been followed. And that also dovetails into something, and I'm glad Mr. Welk brought this up, but I really want to urge everyone listening, all of the public, and my colleagues especially, enforcement, enforcement, enforcement. We have to step this up. And it's not that hard to do. The board's having a workshop in December. You probably know we've received half of our American Relief Plan money from Washington is already in the bank. And there's just no reason we can't put some more into enforcement. And I would like all of you to speak up to the other members of the board and reiterate how important this is, because we can make 30 conditions. And we've seen this not just with this applicant, but others. Often they are ignored and we're impotent to do anything about it. And we cannot rely on our zoning administrator to be the enforcer too. And there have been suggestions made in the past to doing this in a part-time way or full-time way. And I just hope everyone joins me in that chorus of we need to address that. And there's no reason we can't add a person, part-time or full-time or one of each to our budget moving forward. Because if we don't, it just undermines any of this commission. I mean, so many intelligent people, and we put so much hard work into this and followed so much guidance from Lene on it. But if it just is on a piece of paper that we vote to approve, and that's the end of it, it doesn't serve the township, our residents, or ourselves well at all. So thank you for letting me say these things up front, and I hope you'll take them to heart. Thanks.
Thank you, John. I just want to kind of tag on to what you're saying too, because I was on the planning commission. I guess I was the only person that was here then. And I remember some things, but my brain is kind of cheesy now. No, I'm kidding. But it was those were really tough meetings, and those decisions weren't made in one night. I also want to say that. And there was a lot of discussion going back and forth. And I conferred with lawyers at a township meeting and about this project, actually, and about any kind of sand mining project back in the time. And they were saying, you can't stop it. You can't stop it, no matter what you do. That there's 940 sand mining projects going on in Michigan. So I thought, well, back in during that time, I thought maybe we can't stop it, but we can at least make it better. I did not vote for the project. I voted against it, primarily for health reasons. And knowing that there were people with asthma and different health issues in that area that sand mining would be very harmful for too. But to make a long story short, it just seemed like for a year or so after the project started, there were continuous problems. It wasn't just, oh, it started and now it's done. And people would come before us and say, this is happening and that's happening, and there was no recourse. And I think it seems like what they ended up doing is developing kind of a notice sheet. And Jane and her husband, the Dickies, represented the landowners who were impacted by this. And they would then help them maybe fill out this form, and it would go to Top Grade, and Top Grade would address things. But there were things like hauling at high speeds and hauling at inappropriate times and things like that. And the response was always, oh, I didn't know that was happening. Okay, thanks for telling me, and we'll make it right. So in retrospect, we've always been sort of correcting the mistakes. And here we are today correcting mistakes again. And I feel bad about it. And, you know, I know that everyone needs to have their business and they do, but this project should be put back together as promised. So that's my personal feeling. Would anyone else like to say anything about this though? And any questions?
Well, I guess I have a couple of comments. One, I guess I'm not entirely, I think what was said is that this pond has already been attempted, or it already has been clay lined. Is that correct, Ross?
Yes, yep, it's all clay lined and it's holding water now in the bottom.
Right. Okay. That's what I thought was said. So I guess I just want everyone to understand that, I mean, it's not going to be a wet pond. I mean, there may be a foot or two of water, which ultimately might turn into some type of a wetland or what have you, but it's not going to be a pond, what we would think of as a pond, especially not like what was mentioned, you know, in people's backyards, and that these ponds are built up and, you know, and they look beautiful, and this isn't going to be that. And I'm hoping we all understand that. I did go out there and I took a look at it, and it is pretty unsightly. I can't disagree with that. I do feel it's that way because it was neglected. It wasn't, I mean, the only way to really establish those banks is, you know, once you put that topsoil down, is you have to seed them. You have to maintain it. You have to be on top of it. You're going to get soil erosion. It's going to happen. Then you got to restore it, and you got to keep at it. It's not an easy task. I've been down that road. It is difficult. One thing I heard is this was being sold basically, well, as is. I think it was clarified a little bit more that that's not necessarily the case. But the comment was made that the neighbor is good with it. But the township, I don't think we are, because it is unsightly, and it is something that I know Top Grades, you guys are a good company at what you do, and I know you know how to do it right, and this wasn't done right. So I guess those are the things that I also would like to side with, that I feel like it should be put to the way that it was supposed to have been put. And I don't see it there. I don't see any reason why it shouldn't have been. I know the company is more than capable of doing it, and I feel like it should have been done. And I think it was neglect. It was just said, you know what, they got busy with other things. Whether it was intentional or not, I'm not saying that. I just know they could do it if they had wanted to. So,
Okay, so I got a question, Dave, and Ross is building on what Dave's saying. How different is it between what Ross is suggesting be done to do it right in his view, and what the community sees as getting it done the way it was supposed to be done? How far off is that? Is it quite different, or is it pretty close?
Pretty close. Here's the difference. So today, if we took a well and pumped that thing full of water up to the 3.5 acres, okay? Right now, this entire area in purple is 7 acres. If we pumped 3.5 of those 7 acres full of water, you'd have roughly a 12-foot deep pond, okay? And the water level would be halfway up. It'd be quite a bit higher than what we originally proposed. We just got a lot of contention feedback from other neighbors about putting a well in. We got a permit. We didn't do it. We can, and we surely would like to, but we just, when our neighbor came to us and said he'll buy it, we just said, why spend any more money putting a well in, pursuing a bigger?
Yeah, I understand that, but is anybody, aren't we kind of past having water there? It sounds like everybody's relatively satisfied with having a wetland or just having it planted and kind of restored to some semblance of a natural setting.
So then I'll talk to the original plan. To get it to the original plan, we were quite short on the yards shipped out of there compared to what we were permitted to take out by about 100,000 yards.
Mhm.
So there's another 100,000 yards to dig to get that water table pond in there and to go further north. Is
What if we
where,
forget the pond?
okay?
Just forget the pond.
Excuse me, just a minute. Dave,
Sure.
did you finish? We didn't allow you to finish.
Oh, I think I had.
I'm sorry, Dave. I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
that's fine, Mike. Nope, no
Are
problem.
you okay with that? Okay, go ahead, Michael. Keep going.
No, I guess what I was hearing is that it sounds like everybody's agreeing that having a water pond is probably not realistic anymore for all kinds of reasons. So I think I'm hearing that everybody's kind of resolved to the fact that, hey, if we just get it back to a natural setting and some of that might be wetland, we'd be good. Or am I misunderstanding?
Yeah, we're willing to do that.
Is there any objection to that by anybody, the neighbors or anything, or they just want to get it looking good again as a natural setting? Trying to understand what the differences are here.
Are you asking for more public comment?
I don't think you can.
Anybody who wants to chime in as to how different is what the township and the neighbors want versus what Ross is ready to do, and to say, hey, we're not going to have water, we might have a wetland, we're just going to have a nice natural setting and be done with it. How different are we? in what we
Well,
want?
Mike, it's John. I mean, there was a comment made that I think bears repeating, and that's that we could require or request that Top Grade and perhaps the township as well work with somebody like the Outdoor Discovery Center, who are experts on sand mine reclamation and creating a green space. They've done this all over West Michigan. So, and we have a good relationship with them. We haven't engaged them real strongly at this point, but we've had lots of conversations. Maybe this is something we talk to them about.
It could be an opportunity, sure.
In conjunction with Top Grade. Why
Yeah,
not?
right.
Let's work it out.
John?
Yes.
Just to add to that, I actually have a meeting with Dave Nitre on November 30th to discuss this.
Great. Good.
That I reached out to him and I said, hey, would you be willing talking about potentially, what would be the steps to develop a reclamation plan for this site?
Perfect.
So he seemed, willing to discuss it, and he set up that meeting. So I don't know if any other planning commissioners or staff from the township want to be involved in that. And then also, I don't know if that, because I do think this is an interesting idea, because we're not necessarily experts in restoration, but what Michael was talking about, I think that we're all going in that direction and wanting to see something natural, but not necessarily needing a pond, the hole filled with water. To me, it sounds like the biggest point of contention is that the applicant does not want to bring in this dark, organic, friable loam, which I think is absolutely critical. I think that's the issue.
Mhm.
And for me, I'll put my cards out there. I am unwilling to take that condition off the table.
How do we know that the topsoil on the property that's existing doesn't meet that standard?
Well, we see it now. I mean, you can have the engineer go out there, but I don't think it does meet that standard.
I think we ought to have it looked at.
We were out there.
Okay.
It is
So
def-
on the slope is now in the bottom of the pond.
Pardon me, Dave, what'd you say?
I said any topsoil that was on the slope is now in the bottom of the.
I'm talking about the topsoil that's in the surrounding property.
And
That's
even
not-
what's on the top was not, I mean, it was weeds. I can show pictures.
No, Ross said the adjacent acreage had topsoil that might be of good enough quality.
Well, maybe they can test it
There you
and
go. Okay.
produce the testing that shows that it meets the MDOT requirements.
There you go. Sure.
Yeah.
So that's a possibility.
Was
This
topsoil
is Gene,
removed
one of
from
the
the
neighbors.
site? Oh, go ahead.
May I?
No, it was used for restoration, Rebecca. Those slopes, we had lots of big steep slopes, so we needed
Yes.
all the dirt we could to get the slopes to where they were.
Uh-huh.
So that's where all the dirt went.
Okay.
There are some of the slopes that have some nice grass on it. The west slope, that's where a lot of it went. But most of the slopes were made out of clay, and yeah. And like I said, we thought they'd be filled with water, so you'd never see it, but here we are. Things changed from our intent, and so now we understand it could handle better dirt on it now.
And Ross, this is Kurt Kella from Lakeshore Environmental again, Grand Haven, Michigan. Lene, their special conditions had the mechanism, for us to move this along. I mean, there's whatever it was, 18 or so special conditions. And so we have the mechanism, we can make it happen. You and I have done this. It's not, our hardest part was deciding where to go. We were at a turning point. It's some of that was going to be underwater. So I'm still in support of our our special use application, because to deny is to delay. And whether we get Outdoor Discovery Center in there, whom I've worked with too, we need to get an approval so we can get moving.
Yeah, I agree, Kurt. Whether we sell it to the neighbor or maybe we don't, maybe now we look at, making some wetland banks or something out there. I guess those are the opportunities that arise with this, but I guess we just got to justify the moves we make. We still think the best would just sell it to the neighbor, but we'll see. I guess we definitely think we're willing to, work with the township to get it more, aesthetically in better shape, and we'll work through a plan to do that. We just want it to be reasonable, else we got to look for a way to justify all of it,
Rebecca from the neighborhood.
Yes.
This is Gene Adamczyk, 6045 133rd Ave. So, if we, again, filled the bottom with clay so that it held some water, we'd at least have a pond rather than a 40-foot meteor crater. I don't think anybody wants to look at a hole in the ground.
For what it's worth, when we did have the pipe and we were violating the ash drain, we had quite a bit of water in the bottom of the thing. It was holding water. It's 2.5 feet deep on the bottom of clay now. He's right. If you put more clay in it, it would help. But it does hold water. It just, you got to have a lot of it, especially like the first year of its life, until everything silts up and gets tight. It takes quite a bit of water. Eventually it will seal itself off, especially with the erosion that's happening. All those fine silts make it to the bottom and it just keeps sealing.
If I could make a comment. My name is Steve Hickok, 6092 133rd Avenue. Noticing that drain would go into the hole for months, and it would fill up towards the bottom, but where it actually left and went to the tile down into the bottom, it eroded the clay enough to where it would actually, you could see sand starting to build up. So if you see that picture, it eroded enough that it couldn't actually hold the water that was on the bottom. So parts of it would fill up, but the bottom had never filled all the way up, despite what Ross had said. So, and that was months of, I could say a couple months of watching it fill up from the ash drain, which was a lot of volume of water. And so as the neighbors watched it, you knew that it wasn't going to hold water for how much water that was actually leaving the tile into the hole, you knew that it had some integrity issues as far as not enough clay in certain spots. So that's from my observations.
And that's why we put that extension, like Steve said, that water going from the concrete tile down that slope eroded. So it took out our clay liner. So that's when we put that, if you go back to that picture, you can see the black pipe. The only reason we put that on, it's hideous looking, it doesn't look good, but it stopped it from eroding. We had to get the water from that concrete pipe down to the bottom. Our intention was to fix that washout. But as soon as we started to go down that path, this is when the ash drain thing became an issue. So that probably was one of the reasons it wasn't holding waters, because it made a slice into there and got back into the sand. But eventually it would have, it would have worked. It was filling up at a pretty good pace. We had it pegged at like 300 days. We were doing some volume calculations and this and that. The ash drain is dry in the summer quite often. There's no water at all flowing through it, but whenever in the winter is when it sees the most runoff. And so that's when we figured we'd be doing most of the filling was in the winter.
I got a recommendation to kind of move ahead on this. I think Ross and Kurt have heard a lot from all of us, neighbors and township and what have you. And I think they've heard everything they need to hear. And if our goal is to get this property back to where it needs to be according to the initial proposal, might we ask Ross and Kurt to come back to the Planning Commission soon with a course of action they recommend that will meet our needs. We're not going to figure it out here.
No, that's a good point. And also taking into consideration the recommendations that were on the table this evening. And I'm assuming you have the letter from the Dickies too, with the 3 things they were asking, which 2 of those were included in the recommendations, I believe. But with consideration to those points, is that something that you would find acceptable?
Are we talking about making a motion on the conditions? Or are we talking about tabling this?
I believe we're talking about tabling this with purpose. What would you like to suggest, Daniel?
What I would like to say?
Yeah.
I would like to say a few things. I mean, especially when you read Lakeshore Environmental, there's I don't know, I think 5 or 6 wells that are attached to that. And, this is for the community and this is for the planning commissioners. Like, this is not just a project. This really impacted a lot of people's lives. And there was a lot of stress surrounding it. And each of those wells represents a family in the community that was worried about whether or not their water would be contaminated. And I think that as this project went along, the community has lost trust in the applicant. And I know that, as a planning commissioner, I'm interested in moving forward with the applicant to solve the issues, but that distrust continues. And so I think that if we move forward with some sort of, and this is an opportunity, I think, to actually fix the situation or improve it. But if we're going to move forward with the applicant, I think that we do need some sort of outside guidance to feel comfortable that these conditions are going to satisfy the community and actually accomplish what it is we're trying to accomplish. So I do think that, maybe part of any kind of tabling would be to engage an outside consultant.
Madam Chair, I would agree that that if part of our, and again, I was not in this community during this time, so I'm just listening and really trying to absorb everything. And I went out and looked at the site. And if in fact our job is also for the health, safety, and welfare of our township residents, that is an unsafe site as it is right now. And whether in fact it goes back to be actually becoming a pond, or you fill it in and it becomes a grain speed, because as it is right now, it is not a safe site. And that is concerning to me. And I agree with Daniel, is if we really need to really think about and have an expert come in and along with the vendor and say, okay, what can be done in order to make that a safe and usable site, and also thinking about the residents of that area. So that's my greatest concern. That is not a safe site.
And again, don't think that it's going to be a pond, because I mean, even the engineering report, it states there's no supply of water to maintain the permanent level in the pond. It talks about the absorption rate, but back like through the clay into the groundwater. It's not going to be a pond anytime soon. So I don't want anyone to think that it's going to fill up and be this nice pond that you're going to, that you're going to be able to put a beach chair next to and sit and enjoy the ducks in the water. It's
Right.
Now there are other opportunities, and I think I don't disagree with Daniel on this. There are other options that could turn out to be really nice. I mean, there may be another way to make this, to write this and make it a nice, make it a nice project. But at this point, it's just going to be a really deep hole with maybe a couple of feet of water in it, and it's really steep slopes. And and to Denise's point, I mean, if it's unsafe now, how much safer is it going to be, if you get rid of the erosion rills and the and just clean up the sides, it's still going to be deep, and it's still going to be a long ways down.
Okay, so we still need a course of action, and we need a direction, and somebody's going to have to figure that out. It's going to be maybe some people from the township representing and meeting with the vendors. There's got to be a concept and a direction and a plan to get it done that's acceptable for everyone. I mean, we can sit here and talk about it for 3 more hours, and we're not going to get anywhere.
Michael, could I make a recommendation?
Yep.
So again, this isn't a community park. This is a private piece of property, and we plan on it staying that. We may end up keeping this and not selling it to the neighbor. So we would like some input on how this thing is restored. So I guess what we were going down the road of, Kurt and I could get together and throw some ideas back to the township based on some of the points that Lene labeled out. I guess I'd like to first do that. And then if you guys want to compare that with some other thoughts, that's fine. But we'd like to come back to you first with a new proposal on restoration that accomplishes a lot of what I heard tonight, and talk further about, the end use of this property. And, I guess if we can have that opportunity, we'd sure appreciate it.
Great.
Okay, so then Ross, are you then at this point wishing to withdraw your application for the special use as you have submitted, and then create another one? And actually then present something?
No, I don't know that we would have to renotice it and everything. It may be.
Amend it.
So do we postpone the special use and then have them come back and revise it?
Yeah,
Then I would move to, if that's the appropriate way to do it, Lene, I would move to postpone.
I second that.
Well, what's postpone mean?
That means it's still out there, and they come back with a revision, then we bring it, and we are able to then discuss it
Okay.
versus
Can we
tabling it.
So we
Can
could
we put
postpone
it-
the decision and table it to a certain date with consideration based on the applicant revising the application. Is there anything that you would like to add to that in terms of recommendations for them to consider besides what Lene had written?
I think everything that you heard tonight should be under consideration and listening to both the neighbors and as well as the prior plan and then what is the future. So I think all that has to be considered. And I think Ross and Kurt talked about that. Is they'll consider it and look at it and provide us another plan.
Is there an opportunity between now and the time they come back to us formally with another proposal that Ross and Kurt can maybe meet with a couple folks from the township and say, hey, we've got 3 ideas. Here's what they are. What do you think? Get some feedback, and they go, oh, I think this is the best one, and then come back to us with that. So have an interim informal discussion to solidify the direction before they come back to us, and then we can just say, hey, this is what we're expecting. This looks good, and we can either.
I think that would be more associated with Ross talking with Lene. I think that we as a commissioners, you really have to wait until they bring something. And it's just working with Lene and the engineer, our township engineer.
Right. Sure.
Again, my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
Can we request that the applicant, because right now the drawings that we have, it's kind of hard to conceive of this. Can we have in our next site plans cross sections of each side of the mining site? So we have a better idea of what this,
Yeah, we can put more detail on the next go around with a restoration plan, especially on top of what existing conditions are onto what is being proposed for the future.
Thank you.
Okay. So possible outcomes from this can be one of 4 things. We can postpone the decision and we can move it to a certain date with consideration. We can reject the proposal, we can accept the proposal, or we can accept the proposal with conditions. I'm hearing some general enthusiasm about postponing the decision and asking for
An amended proposal.
reconsideration, the applicant's reconsideration of what their proposal is. But I've also heard pretty strongly from several folks here that they would like an expert from ODC involved in working with them, or at least partially. Is that true or no?
Yes.
Yes.
I think that's
No,
certainly
that's
appropriate.
true. And it's, as we heard from Daniel, I mean, it's in the works, so. Perhaps.
Right, I know Daniel's meeting with them, but I don't know if anyone else knew that, but are we saying that we would like their expert opinion involved in this? Their expertise.
I think it would be appropriate to have them review the plan, but again,
And work
again,
with
they
the
could be
applicant.
a consultant for us as a planning commission.
They could be.
Lene, in regards to the question, I see a comment from someone is, if we, right now, the motion on the table is to postpone. If we postpone, that means, and then do we have another public, it comes back up to we don't have a public hearing, right? We won't have another public hearing. If we reject, it would then come back up for another public hearing.
Yeah, a whole new application. They'd have to submit a new fee. We do a new public hearing notice.
Okay, so if we postpone, it comes under our agenda, so people can still come to the meeting and listen to the proposal and make any comments. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep. There's always a public comment period.
Okay.
And as I mentioned earlier, our December meeting is the 13th. I don't know that they're going to be ready, and we're going to have to do the packets basically next week or the week after for that meeting anyway. So
Ross, that's not enough time for you guys,
January.
is it?
Yeah.
Are we talking, would February,
January. Yep.
would
Yep.
February be a possibility?
How about January?
Okay. That you would then bring in a new proposal for our January meeting?
Right. Yep.
Does that sound reasonable to everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
I call for the question. I call for the question. That means we have to vote on the motion.
Who supported your motion?
You have to have the support.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, Dave did.
Okay.
I call for the question.
So could you please repeat your motion?
That we postpone the application for the special approval use from Top Grade Aggregates LLC for them to review and come with a new plan that meets all the discussion today, and with the hope that they have it for our January meeting.
Good.
And can we add in there more detailed renderings?
Yes.
I guess including cross sections.
Absolutely, Daniel. We got
Thank
her.
you. Perfect. I appreciate that.
Just beware of that vertical exaggeration.
Okay. So Webster made this motion, and did Eiley support that?
Correct.
Okay. Any additional discussion or comment? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. Eiley,
Yes.
DeFranco,
Yes.
Round,
Yes.
Helmrich,
Yes.
Webster,
Yes.
Worth,
Yes.
Israel's yes. Okay, well, I know this has been a very long meeting. Thank you for that. Moving on to item C.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you to everyone that participated, and we look forward to seeing all of you back in January.
Yeah.
With sincerity, we do. Moving on to item number C, Coastal Leadership Academy.
Yes, I just want to update everyone. I think you've all heard this spoken about in previous planning commission meetings, and there's an overview in the packet. But the township has been formally accepted to participate in what's called the Southwest Michigan Coastal Leadership Academy. It's a
Okay.
joint effort of the Michigan Coastal Management Program, which is a state program, and the Michigan Association of Planning, of which we are all now members. And it's to study puts coastal communities together to become more resilient in the face of coastal hazards such as lake level variations, flooding and erosion, and give us the tools to use to guide future growth and wise development while protecting coastal natural and cultural resources. What it entails, it's 3-hour live video teleconferencing sessions with some homework. They've asked us to submit a list of between 3 and 5 people to participate and represent the township. I think the crucial thing, if anyone is considering doing this, think very hard about this. The 3 dates where this will occur are January 13, January 27, and February 10. So I guess what I'd like to just say is consider this. If you could let Chair Israel's know if you'd very much like to be a part of this. I'd also like to ask Denise and Daniel and myself to share this information with our special committees, because some of the members of the committees are not planning commissioners or board members. We need to get back to them by, I think it's December 8th. It's later than I thought. No, that's wrong note. It is December 3rd. They want to know who we're sending, metaphorically. So like I said, if you wanted to participate, please let Becky know. If you hear from someone on a special committee or a member of the public, let me know. And in the next week, we'll hone this down. And I think I think we'll benefit a lot from it. And it really dovetails nicely into what we're doing with the special committees. So please give it some thought and take it from there. Thanks.
John, is any other surrounding communities participating in this that you know of?
Not that I know of. They did
Okay.
encourage that. I did go to their initial introductory webinar, and they like that, but I have not heard that.
Okay, thank you, John.
And again, we've got most of the lakeshore of the three of our three community cities.
Okay. All right. Any questions for John on that? Okay, moving on to old business. We are skipping committee reports this month, and we will have committee reports next month in December.
Chair Israel's, I want to make one comment because it's relative to rural character and conservation. And I wanted to share this. You know about this, but I just want everyone to know that hopefully tomorrow, a letter is going to be sent to our state representative, Mary Whiteford. This is sort of bubbled up from the Rural Character and Conservation Committee. It's relative to two issues now that the highway has reopened and been beautifully repaved. It seems like there's more noise. The rumble strips are as loud as during construction. And there's been concern that there wasn't any additional planting of trees to buffer the sound along the highway corridor owned by the state. So we've had information that if a community's state representative requests that MDOT, the Department of Transportation, look into this more clearly, it can get response. So a letter's been drafted over the last 4 days. It's going to go out tomorrow. Chair Israels will be on it. I'll be on it as along with Daniel from the Rural Character and Conservation Committee. Our supervisor of the board, Cindy Osmond's name will be on it. So we're just asking Representative Whiteford to bring this issue up to MDOT. One of our committee members, John Vanderbeek, who's very good at mapping, as you probably know, has done a great map where he suggested we could benefit from some tree buffers. He's indicated where the existing rumble strips are. And apparently there is a lighter grade of a rumble strip called a mumble strip, which is quieter. And MDOT has been known, even after they've done the initial one, to alter this, to make it quieter and also to plant trees. And that is a state responsibility, or MDOT would take care of this. None of this would be an economic impact for the township. So I wanted to share that because it came about fairly quickly, and we want to get the letter in Mary Whiteford's hand as soon as we can and not wait for future meetings of the board and or the planning commission. But everyone's been alerted, and now you have all as well. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Now, John, you can give us a township board update.
That's why I try to keep quiet during the meeting because I have so much at the end. All right, I'll ram through this, but the township board met on November 10th of this month. We had public comment from Garnet Lewis from the Representative Recycling Committee to tell us that they are studying single hauler service options, perhaps for all three communities. We had a vote, actually it was a close vote, 3-2 to purchase equipment to allow for hybrid meetings in person for the board and Zoom for the public. So that equipment will be purchased. We had a vote 4-1 to approve a bond resolution to assess and collect payments for the water main extension out to the Van Horn properties. We had a unanimous vote to proceed with section 2. We're working with a company called Bon Marché, who will be are doing the planning and design recommendations for township hall renovations. We reviewed the proposed new logo for the township, which is part of the branding study that's going on. The board was then was asked to complete questionnaires for our feedback on this potential logo, and that has now been shared, that information. Our responses, the branding committee consists of Manager Fry and trustees Bigford and Aldrich. We reviewed the wage and benefit review that Mr. Fry had put together, and we have a human resources, basically, subcommittee, which consists of Mr. Fry, along with Supervisor Osmond and Trustee Bigford, who's also our board clerk. We approved, this is interesting, we approved the purchase of 2 speed alert signs, the ones that flash how fast you are going, to be placed on each side of Blue Star Highway. And Allegan Road Commission knows we're taking this step, so those will be purchased and up and running fairly soon. And
Where are you gonna put those, John?
Yeah.
well, like I said, either side of I misspoke. Either side of Old Allegan Road
Okay.
along
All right.
Blue Star Highway.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
I was speeding along, no pun intended.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of crucial. Yes, at either both directions adjacent to Old Allegan Road. And let's see, we approved a 1-year plan for the snow removal on Silver Acres Drive, which is necessary to allow the fire department to access the Kalamazoo River, and it will benefit and make it safer for lots of different homes in that area. And those were the key things. We are next meeting on December 8th at 6 o'clock, and probably again, it'll be Zoom for the public, and perhaps the board will meet in person, but that's to be determined. And just, I want to reiterate, please, whether it's verbal or letter or email, reach out to all members of the board and our manager on the importance of enforcement. And we've got the tools to do more of that. But I think, and I believe, I'm sure Lene agrees with me on this, we're just going to be faced with more and more of this as we grow and development increases. And if we can't, I hate to say enforcement again, but that's the only word for it. If we can't check up on conditions being followed, then there's not much point in having conditions. And we have the tools and we can afford it. And Ed Welk's been saying that for years. I've been saying it for a little over a year, and let's make this happen. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
You're
And
welcome.
just to add, thank you to Michael for Michael Worth for a conversation about safety on the Blue Star Highway, and he did put together his concerns and did send them to the board member who's working with the road commission. And I just want to note that she so appreciated his comments, and he thought of things that she hadn't thought of. So she did call me to say thank you for
Appreciate
that
it.
connection. So
Glad to help.
yeah, thank you. Moving on to the township board update. Lene, is there anything that you would like to update us on?
No, I think December we'll hear that presentation from Ryan and then have our committee reports. I'm thinking you all have a set of recommendations, and we might want to prioritize or something like that. Or yeah, I mean, Becky, it's really up to you how you want to do it, but
Well, I would say that I
else?
guarantee you it'll be a shorter meeting than tonight. And, but Ryan's gonna start off our meeting, and so we're gonna kind of dispense with a lot of the beginning approval of the agenda and minutes until after Ryan talks to us. So I think there were some emails saying, do we need to public notice Ryan? And that would probably be very nice and helpful. So I told Jennifer I'd get back to her tomorrow. But
oh yeah, we do. I mean, we don't need a public notice in the paper or anything.
no, but on the website maybe.
Put it on the agenda.
To that point, because we're meeting in the morning at the office because there's been some confusion. Moving forward, board meetings, planning commission meetings, parks commission, and in my view, the 3 special committees should all be, and when I say noticed, we've got 400 people that get the township e-blast through MailChimp and Facebook. And we've been doing this sporadically, and different people have actually done it. We're hoping tomorrow to just say all the heads of those bodies I just mentioned, the week before the meeting, we'll make sure that probably Jennifer Drew in the office has the agenda, to send out to encourage more public participation. We were better at that a year ago, and we're trying to get that back tighter.
Great.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. Anything else?
I would really like to attend the meeting with the Discovery Center on November 30th. Is that a possibility for, more of us to attend if we'd like?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll send out an email to everyone. It probably won't be tonight, but it'll be soon. And Dave and I are going to meet on Zoom. So it's scheduled for 1 o'clock on, I believe, the 30th. So I'll just give them a heads up about that, that we're going to have some, more planning commissioners involved. But, I think I think it'll be great. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to get their input. But yeah, I'll send that email out. So as many people who want to attend can attend.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Daniel, do we have to worry about numbers of people from the planning commission attending?
Oh, we do, don't we? So
yeah.
we have to pick,
Okay.
it can't be more than what, 3?
Okay, yeah,
Three.
yeah, 4 is a quorum. Up to
Mhm.
3.
So you can have 3 people. So Jackie can attend and you can attend and one other person could attend.
Does anybody else want to attend?
Well, if someone does, please let Daniel know. He can choose after that, okay?
And I would encourage someone, especially newer people, because like Jackie just asked, which was great, because over the summer, we did have a tour and a meeting at the Outdoor Discovery Center that board members and some planning commissioners attended. So timing's everything. So if
Daniel,
it's good to get
Daniel,
better
we can have
acquainted
up
with
to
Outdoor Discovery Center.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We can have up
Were
to
you
3.
talking,
Daniel.
Dave?
I would actually attend if
Okay.
there's anyone else that wants to do it.
And I would actually like that because I know that, you see this as an expert, as a professional. And so I really do value that input in talking to the ODC.
I think that's important too, Dave, because you're on the zoning board too. So I think that would be nice for us, besides the fact that you're an engineer, but.
I was gonna say, engineering background doesn't hurt.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that's perfect. That's a very impressive group, Jackie. So I think that's great that you're gonna do that. So Daniel, you'll stay in touch with Dave and Jackie, right?
Yeah. Look out for an email in the next few days.
Okay.
Okey doke. I think if that concludes everything, and I guess I would just like to add, in the spirit of Thanksgiving, I wish to thank all of you for your time and your participation this evening. And also the township staff and board for making these processes work, and especially to our community and our guests this evening, even though they're probably all gone, for caring and sharing their voices and their concerns. I wish you a healthy holiday and good times with friends and family. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Webster,
I'll second it.
supported by Eileen. We have to do a roll call vote, folks.
Wait, can we have comments first?
Sure, comments? Any comments, please?
Yeah, I would just like to say everything you said to all of us and the public and the board, and send that back to you for guiding us so brilliantly, and the energy and effort you put into this. And I think we have a great working machine going here. So thank you.
Thank you, John. Anyone else have a comment? Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
Okay,
Thanksgiving.
roll call. Eileen,
Yes.
Franco,
Yes.
Round,
Yes.
Helmrich,
Yes.
Webster,
Yes.
Worth,
Yes.
Israel's yes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.